Hello, it's Keith Keller in Melbourne, Australia. And what we're doing today is a very, very, very cool show called the Social Audio Sound Check. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I'd love to hear what mic you're using. I'm going to have a lot to talk about today, and we're going to hopefully get some guests in demonstrating their mics. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Hello, Jeremy. Hello, Otto. Welcome to the show, and thanks for calling in on your Easter Monday. Tuesday here, of course, in Melbourne, Australia. Hello, Raymond. Yell out if you want the link. I can have up to 10 people on stage today, and why that's very cool is I want to demonstrate the various types of mics that people can use. I'm using a dynamic mic, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. You can hear it obviously here now, but I'll demonstrate some, microphone technique a bit later. And I'd love to hear what other people are using. It's very, very important that we have that discussion. I'm just going to work you through a couple of things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk a little bit about proximity effect, the idea that by having the microphone close, it sounds better. And if you have it far away, it's hard to hear. I'm going to demonstrate that a bit later. I also want to talk a little bit about this concept. This is pretty cool. I can't remember who I did this, and I really apologize for that. I would like to be able to call out who made this graphic, but I came across it on the internet, and it really indicates what's going on with sound. And most microphones will have a bandwidth of 50 hertz to 20 kilohertz. We'll talk about this in a minute when some people come up on stage and talk about what's going on. This is very, 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 very cool. Mike has a Samson 2QU, which I love them. I just love those mics. I've got one. I'll talk about that in a minute. So Michael has a Samson 2QU, and it's a dynamic mic, and we'll talk about those two concepts in a minute. Americo is calling in or listening in from Canada. I'll talk to him in a minute about what he uses. What we're doing here is we're streaming to YouTube and to LinkedIn. I can actually stream to up to 3 places, and I'm waiting for Blue Sky to add that feature, but I will do that soon. They just introduced verification today, which I'm very excited about. I'll talk about that a bit later if we have time. But I mainly focus on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has 1.1 billion users, billion. And here's a bit of a breakdown of how that might relate to where you live. Tell us where you're calling in from or listening in from. One thing that Americo and I are experimenting with are comments and questions. So if you do have a lot of comments and questions, please put those in the chat. And I'll tell you why that's really important. The algorithm in this hour that we're doing this show, LinkedIn will sort of do some research behind the scenes using AI probably. And if we get lots and lots and lots and lots of comments, then we'll probably get a little bit more push on the algorithm. And I'm very proud to say that some of these shows have had up to 15,000 replays. And I was never ever going to expect that, but who can tell? And it was Americo who put me onto that by going into the events tab, which is pretty cool. I do have a couple more shows coming up. I'm doing a bit of traveling soon, so I'm just going to wrap up a couple of shows I'm doing, and then I'm going to go and see the world. I'll tell you a bit about that later. But if you do want to come up, please come up and join us and take part in the process, because the more activity we have, the more the algorithm of LinkedIn loves it. And you're right, I do love warm sounds, and the dynamic mic has a very warm sound. Let's move the algo needle. Let's move the needle. So the more comments we get, the more questions we get, the more that LinkedIn will say, hey, this guy's a bit of a winner. Let's push him up the line. And that's part of the process. We've got some guests, and ADC is coming in. I'm just waiting. I'll just get you to put your thumbnail in there, mate, and I'll bring you in. I'll I might yet have a chance to talk about the rooster and the crickets, but depending on how we go, we might not necessarily need to do that. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about microphones, and I'm going to tell you what I use, and then we're going to bring some people in. I like to move it, move it. So what I use is a Samson 2QU. Now I love this mic. I just love it, and it costs about $100, and it actually has this magical warm sound. I use it with a Zoom P4. The reason I love the Samson 2QU, and I'll talk a lot about this mic because it's very, very good value, is that you can actually use it on your computer with a USB port, which is the way Mike uses it. And you can also use it with an XLR. Now, you probably haven't heard of XLR, but XLR is that really funky professional quality sound you get from cool gadgets. And the Zoom P4 is about as cool as it gets. I will talk a little bit more about other gadgets I'm going to get, but I'm going to bring Americo in now to talk about what he uses and the power of sound. So, mate, how are you doing? What gadgets do you use? Do you have gadgets?
Well, thanks for bringing me on stage. So I'm now broadcasting and talking through my JBL Quantum 100. It's a headset with noise canceling capability. I do have a condenser microphone that I bought, but I haven't experimented with it yet.
Yeah, let me pick up on that. So it's the Quantum 100, yeah. I'll just get a picture of it. I love headphones with mics on them. I'll see if I got a picture of that for you. That is a very, very handy device to have, isn't it? I'll just see if I can get a picture of that up for you for the listeners at home. I'm pretty sure it's a standardized headset. There it is, the Quantum 100 JBL headset. That's what Americo's calling in on today. Tell us why you love that, and it's very convenient, isn't it?
It is convenient, and it keeps me humble. So if I step away, it's not wireless. It is wired, but it allows me some flexibility to step away from the laptop and not lose or have my audience lose my audio presence. Where in the past I used Bluetooth JVC headsets with a mic, but because they were wireless, the Bluetooth, depending on how charged my battery was, the sound quality would dissipate as the more I spoke and the more I consumed the battery. So back to wired, and you and I spoke about this not too long ago. I might be ready for another upgrade soon because I just appreciate, especially the value proposition I try to bring to my customers and the people that I support, helping people understand the importance of their voice. So if we're stepping away from the keyboard and we're bringing content and thought leadership through an audible presence or even a video presence, it's important that you sound good.
Yeah, this is actually the most important part of the show I'm doing today, and that is, why would you bother spending money, because it costs money? Why would you bother spending money on a headset or a good mic? And that the difference that we've noticed, and you've got that great story of someone who called in from a luxury sort of a luxury brand, but was near the window and the construction was going on and the birds were singing and there was a bulldozer and there's cars in the street, and it really weakened her brand, didn't it?
And I could tell you, I probably wouldn't have heard that white noise with my previous headset. And as I become more acclimated to the importance of sound quality, anecdotally, I shared with you, like I'm afraid that if I upgrade my equipment, I'm going to hear someone's kitchen faucet dripping in the next room.
Yeah, look, this is actually really important. I think this is a really important discussion to have. As we move forward, we now compare ourselves differently. Now, if you were in year 7, first year of high school, you're only hanging out with people in year 7. And you might compare yourself to people in year 12. That's how we do it here, year 7 to 12. When you're in the first year of uni, you're comparing yourself with the people that have finished uni. And when you're finishing uni, you're comparing yourself with people who are doing their masters. But when you're in year 7, you're not comparing yourself to a doctorate, because it's not in your bandwidth. So when you hear things, you can't unhear them, which I get you. I get you, Tomerico. You can't unhear, you can't go back. Like, you can't pretend anymore. You can hear it and you can't unhear it. It's a really bizarre thing. Once you know, and you can't unknow it. But instead of comparing yourself with the average person doing a podcast on their laptop, which is what most people are probably doing, you're moving into the 10% of people that say, mate, I want my podcast to sound good. And I want you to notice that it sounds good. And you go into a different realm of listener. I can't listen to podcasts made on a laptop anymore. I'm in a different zone. Yeah. In the same, a very good example, very, very, very good example of this is instant coffee. I cannot drink instant coffee. I might have been able to when I was younger, because I didn't know the difference. But now when I go to a cafe and I get a coffee made, I can't drink instant coffee. I can't drink it. It just tastes awful to me. And that's because my palate has adjusted, and your ears will adjust. Now, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but the point is that all these people that have these famous podcasts, I guarantee they're not speaking into a laptop. Anyone that's got a really good quality podcast that's got lots of listeners, guaranteed they're not sitting next to a window with the bulldozer going.
Well, here's another thing that you taught me, and I now have an appreciation and respect people who are hosting events. I too was one of the traveling attendees. I would jump on a stream. If I wasn't home, I would dial in from my phone, connect the Bluetooth to my car, and I would listen to a show on the drive home or on the drive to wherever I might be heading. And I would jump on those calls. And at times, the air conditioning's blaring, or maybe I have the window open and you hear cars passing by, and I'm picking up, my voice is getting picked up by my mobile device. And it wasn't until you brought it to my attention, it's like, I'm doing a disservice to the host by bringing this crappy persona to the show. So I when I'm on the road, if I'm listening, I will drop in a comment saying, hey, I'm listening. I'm unavailable to come on stage, out of respect for the host.
Yeah. And there's also the types of shows. I know several people like to walk and talk. They like to go on shows while they're walking. Well, no, that's great, because that's the show. But I've got this very, very cool example of a friend of mine that said, you know what, I got about an hour every night after work. I'm just going to jump in the car and do a podcast on my way home, because I'm sitting in the car anyway, right? And I said, okay, let's see how that goes. So she started this podcast at 5:05. Hey, had a good day? Just thinking, I'm just talking into my laptop. I'm into my iPhone. Sounds all right, eh? Yeah. Oops, sorry, red light. I just thought I'd have a bit of a chat. After the 3rd episode, she's going, bloody hell, this is hard. Like, I'm driving, there's traffic, the wind's blowing, people are honking their horn, there's a big bulldozer on the freeway, and I'm stuck in front of a tractor, and I'm not having much fun. And to be honest, it was a terrible podcast. It sounded awful. Like, I couldn't listen to it, even though she was my friend. I said, look, I really want you to succeed, but I just don't think you got the right model. Yeah, but I got an hour in the car, and I'm doing nothing. You're not doing nothing. You're driving home. That is a task that requires effort. And I don't want you to be concentrating on getting more followers and getting more traction when you're driving home. I really want you to get home safe. Right? She goes, yeah, I guess you're right. But I can do both. Well, can you? Can you? Anyway, she did about 7 episodes and just gave it up. So I'll just pick up on what's going on here. This is called the Quantum 100. How much are they? About $100, maybe?
Yeah, about $100.
Yep. And the great thing there is that it's wired. And why that's powerful is it plugs in and it's hardwired into the computer. So maximum connectivity, yeah? When you use Bluetooth, it's a shocker. Sometimes it drops in and out. You really don't know, do you?
No, you don't.
Yeah. Now, if you want to, Raymond is a voiceover artist, and I would love to hear his thoughts on this. We are now going to start to talk about some pretty cool tech. Rode mics are made in Australia. I'm pretty proud of this brand. They're an Aussie brand. Raymond has a Rode NT1. Now, these are arguably the best microphones in the world. Like that, and maybe only marginally defeated by the Shure MV7B or the MV7 Plus. We'll talk about that in a minute. But if you want to come up on stage and demonstrate your NT1, Raymond, I'd love to have you, and you're very, very welcome to do that. I'll just see if I can find the link for you and send it to you, because I think people need to hear the difference. Now, why this is important? This is actually extremely important. The Rode NT1 is a condenser mic. Now, the advantage of a condenser mic, and just know that it's a word. It's just a word. But once you hear it, you'll know. It sounds very warm. It sounds very natural. It sounds very harmonious. It sounds like you're sitting in the lounge room talking to your friends, right? That's very, very cool. A dynamic mic is very, very good for that FM radio voice. And it makes you sound like you're doing a radio show, but it also has what we call noise rejection. So if there's someone mowing the lawn next door, or the kids are playing because they're on school holidays, or there's a helicopter in the air, or wifey's got the microwave going, the dynamic mics actually make a lot of just by the way they're built, they reject a lot of noise. Not everything, but a lot. And then you can use tech for the rest. So you can't hear me anymore. Okay, I don't know what happened there. Can anyone else hear me? Just give me a bit of a tick, and you can still hear me. Can you, America?
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. So I'll send you a link, Raymond, and maybe just reboot. It looks like you lost the feed. It's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy internet usage, this show. Otto was saying that the JBL Quantum 100 is $100 US. Okay. Now let me just go back to that. This is a sort of a 2-in-1 in a way. You've got a really lovely pair of headphones, which I definitely recommend, and you've got a mic attached. Brilliant, just brilliant. So we can hear you. Sabine can hear us, and Michael can hear. It looks like Raymond must have lost the signal. I'll send him a separate little message. So this is a perfect solution, Americo. What would you do differently to this? What would be the upgrade from here? What do you think, Americo? What would be the upgrade from here?
Come off of mute. I don't know. I made a purchase. It was an impulse purchase because Amazon's SEO works in magical ways. They've captured my attention by watching my shopping pattern, and they suggested a condenser mic at a reasonable price, and it was an impulse buy. So I have it set up. I haven't tested it yet, so I don't know if it's good quality. It's about $100, and I kind of think I should.
What is it? Tell me what it is. Get out the packet. Like, this is good. We got live shopping right on the show. I've often said I should have my own Amazon shopping channel, but while Americo is doing that, and while Raymond is getting the signal back, what I use, which is $100, $70 US, I think, is a dynamic mic made by Samson. Now, I think this is the best quality mic that you can buy for that money. I love them. And you can hear what I'm talking about. You can hear that this sounds clear. It's got that sort of FM radio voice. And the magical advantage of this mic, because it's based on another very famous mic I'll talk about in a minute, is that you can use it both on your computer with a USB cable, just plugged straight in to your USB port, or you can use it on your phone because it plugs straight into a USB-C port, or you can use it on a mixer, right? And you need these really funky buttons. It looks like little alien peoples, right? Those little holes there fit into these little holes here. And I use a Zoom P4, which is about $200. Now, you don't have to buy one of these, but you can hear what it sounds like. You can get a very similar sound by just plugging it in your computer. I can tell the difference. It's slightly flatter, slightly less color, a little bit like steamed veggies versus a Thai curry. That's the example I use with a mixer. If you go Thai and you have a lovely plate of Thai curry in a lovely sauce with a lovely presentation, that's a mixer. If you just put the veggies in a steamer, that's what it sounds like when you use your that's what it sounds like to me, flat and lifeless. But that's because I've got a bloody nice pair of headphones on that cost me $200, and I can tell the difference. But most people can't tell the difference. So, did you find out what your mic is? I'm really curious now. It's a condenser mic. You bought it on Amazon.
Well, I sent you the picture, and here's what had me a little skeptical when I unpacked it. There's no brand name on it. It just says professional condenser mic, legendary vocal condenser microphone. And I'm looking at the user manual, and it just, not to discredit China, but it appears to be a knockoff of some sort that I spent $100 on, and I don't know that it's going to be what I
Has it got that classic mic look? Is it?
Yeah, it does.
I get like the one I've got, like the big bauble at the front.
No, it has. It comes on one of those boom arms that I can attach to my desk.
It's a little bit like this one.
Take a look. I just sent you a photograph on your DM feed. Take a peek.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it now. So Mike is in the call, and that's pretty cool. And Zakia has one of these, a Rode NT and a Rode PodMic USB. Now this is the Ferrari. Well, that's not the Ferrari. It's probably an Audi. Probably an Audi or a BMW. It's a BMW convertible. That's probably what I would call this mic. It's good. It's affordable. Sounds fantastic. Really magical dynamic range. I think it's 20 to 20, even better than this graphic here. Zakia, if you want to come on stage, I would love to hear your Zoom, so your mic. I know that you've been on stage before, but this is a special show, so people will be able to hear what it sounds like. It's very present. It's very dynamic, pardon the pun, because it is a dynamic mic, but it's very punchy. And so if you want to come and demonstrate that, I'd love that. Mike, on the other hand, pretty cool. Mike has a Samson 2QU, but he's plugged it into his phone, I think, or is it into your laptop? How do you do it, Mike?
This is actually into my PC, and this is using the Steel Series GG Sonar EQ / noise reduction.
Okay, so this is very, very cool. This is why I love this microphone, which is why I love it. I'm plugging it into a mixer, but that mixer cost me $200. I don't mind paying for it because I love tech. What Mike's done is he's plugged his phone directly into his PC. Now, you don't have headphones on, Mike, so you can't tell what I'm talking about, can you?
I technically can through software, but no, I'm listening on my Jabra headset earphones, to you, I can't hear myself.
Yeah, that's a pity because you've got this. I'm really interested in this. I'd love to hear the different. We both have the same microphone. Like we both have the same microphone. Now I'd love you to play a game, and I'd love you to tell me what you think my voice is. My voice, I think, is something near presence, maybe clarity, possibly crisp. I'm just putting words in your mouth. You decide. My gut feeling is that Mike is a bit more down the bottom end because he's plugging it straight into his PC. I would think it's somewhere around boom or rumble. Very different sound, Mike. Like extremely different sound. I can hear you clearly, but there's a lot of bass. And I would love to hear if anyone else can hear that. I particularly think I sound crisp or present or maybe even a bit of sizzle. I don't know. I'm putting words in your mouth, but your voice to me, Mike, sounds clear, but a bit muddy, a bit thick, a bit rumbly, a bit boomy. And that's because it's concentrating more on the bottom end. I want people to comment. Please comment if you can hear the difference. If you can't, that's okay. I'm aware that I can hear things people can't hear. I must have been a dog in a previous life because I can hear things people can't hear. So I feel like I'm the man from an H.G. Wells movie. You know, I just hear things people can't hear. But I'd love to know. Can you hear the difference, America?
So both you and Mike are on the same mic, and yes, I can tell a difference between the two.
Yeah.
And I I would say perhaps his is coming in with softer bass. Probably the best word that I could add to the list you've already described.
Yeah. Now, Mike, this is amazing. The television's on.
You can hear it?
Oh,
Yes.
bloody clear. Really clear.
Man, and ours not working then. Okay.
Can you hear that, America?
Yes, we can hear. I can hear the
Yeah.
television.
It's crystal clear. It's like it's real. It's like you're next to it. This is fascinating because this is the show. On this show, I want to demonstrate what different mics sound like, and what different technicians or different techniques use. So, I'm using the same mic as Mike, but Mike is plugged into a PC, which means he has very little control over the sound. The Zoom P4. And you can hear the difference. So this is, I mean, I should really be working for them. In fact, I've rung them and they won't get back to me. I really should be selling their products. But, you know, you can see that there's a difference. The Zoom has a very, very good piece of tech in there, what's called a low-pass filter. And I'll come back to this in a minute. This graphic here, everything under, say, 100 hertz gets taken out of the mix with a little push of a button. It's called a low pass filter. And that means things like the air conditioning, the rumble of your fan on your PC, maybe the fridge, possibly the microwave, and some of those annoying everyday sounds get taken off. So it's very, very interesting. We can technically hear Mike, but we can hear the television as well. And he sounds very boomy to me. Now, let me pick up on this. This is a very, very, very cool idea, Zakia. The Zoom P4 is $200. The Rodecaster Pro is $1,000. Right. So make your own mind up. I mean, this is what my friend Zakia uses. It is the Ferrari, and it's priced accordingly. It's $1,000. My product was $200 and it's priced accordingly. You know, it doesn't have half of the features you have. I would love to hear you come on stage to talk about this because, and I'll run you through a couple of the choices that Zoom has versus Rode. So Zoom, the hardware company, not the software company, which is based in Japan, not the US, has a lot of good products. It has the Zoom P4, and it also now just recently invented the Zoom P2. I'm definitely getting one of these, even though I technically don't need it. I just want to try it. It runs on USB microphones. So if you don't have a fancy mic, you can just plug this one in. It's very, very cool. I'm definitely getting one. It's $175. But Zakia has a Rodecaster Pro, which is $1,000, and its smaller brother is, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, the Rodecaster Duo is $700. I mean, it's obscenely expensive, but it sounds fantastic if you can afford it. I'm not sure I can afford it or want to spend that much. This one's $175, does a similar thing in a very, very dumbed down way. But the Rode products, I mean, they're off the charts good. Like if Zakia came on to the call, you would hear the difference. So what I'd love you to do is I'll send everyone a link to the show, and I'd love you to come on and tell me what you're using. There's no judgment. We're all using whatever we can afford, whatever we think is a good purchase for us. I'm into tech, so I don't mind spending a bit of money, but $1,000 for a mixer, man, that seems like a lot of money to me. Just seems like so much money. And I'd never get it past the wife. That's the truth. It's not about me. It's about the wife. I'll never get it past her. She's never going to agree to it. What do you think, mate? I mean, what do you think if you went to your girlfriend, your fiance, your wife, and says, "Hey, I just found this really cool piece of tech. It's only $1,000, but it's going to make me sound really professional." You think you could get it past her?
That's a losing battle before it even begins.
Oh man, that's I mean, that's so true. So both Zakia and Cyrus have Rodecasters. I'd love to know, what mic do you use, Cyrus? I'd love to hear. I'll bring you up on stage, and the point is that we can tell the difference. So it's not money down the toilet. It's just choice. It's just a choice. So Otto, the Samsung 2QU was 100 Australian dollars, probably 70 US. I know Cambodia works in US dollars, so probably about $70 US. And Mike came in and he sounded quite good, just plugged straight into his PC, a bit boomy for me, but he was using some tech, and he's going to try and find a way to get rid of that television noise. But I use a Zoom P4, and that is just so glorious. So you weren't able to make head or tail of the box, Americo. You weren't able to find out what that is. You've sent me an attachment. Okay.
Yeah, there's no brand. It's not branded. It's just says condenser mic.
Okay. Do you have it there? Do you want to plug it in? Do you want to?
Yeah. Let's give it a go.
So what'll happen with a condenser mic? This is a very, very cool. You'll hear the difference. I want to talk about condensers versus dynamic. They're very different. Structurally, they're very different, but that's not important. The difference is in the sound. So the dynamic mic, what I have, has this very sort of radio voice, this deep, resonant radio voice, lots of low end. Right? What the condenser mics have is a very natural bias towards the top end, which is where all the sparkle happens. I'll talk about this in a minute. It sounds cooler, sounds better. It sounds better, but it also picks up all the other things like the microwave and the toilet and the washing machine and the lawnmower and the kids playing and the burnouts in the street and the fan and the air conditioner. So I'm just going to prep this. I'm just going to prep this before you hear it. I'm just going to prep it. So Zakia has the Rode NT, the Rode Pod Mic USB. Rode Pod Mic USB. Now, before you get too excited, I'm going to bring Zakia in. I want you to hear this. I'm using a Samson 2QU, $100. My friend Zakia is using a Rode PodMic USB, $285. Let's see if we can hear the difference. Hello, Zakia.
Hello, Keith and Americo. I don't know. That was a heck of an entrance there. I hope there is some difference that people can hear, because
Wouldn't it be terrible if there was no discernible difference?
If there was nothing different, Rode might say, "Don't do that again." But I don't know. Maybe the audience can tell us.
Yeah. So this is a Rode, RODE, Australian company, in a PodMic USB. Now, why this is important, I'll get you in a minute, mate. You've got an NT2. I'll talk about this in a minute. The reason why this is a new trend that microphone companies are doing. The new trend is that they've got the XLR, the very, very cool professional quality microphone setup, but they're now also got the USB, which means that you can do both. If you've just got a PC, you can plug it into your PC. If you've got a really good quality mixer, you can plug it into a mixer, right? This is on my wish list, this pod mic. They're $285 Australian. Again, that's getting up there. But I'm doing 3 shows a week, so I could probably justify it, but I might have to wait until my birthday. Like I might have to get it past wifey on my birthday. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on an angle. How am I going to be able to afford $285? Right? It's real money, right? I'm going to have to sort of sweet talk my wifey and or maybe wait to, I don't know when I'm going to be able to afford it. But the point is that you do this sort of stuff all the time, Zakia. So it's an investment in your sort of brand, isn't it?
It was, and I was actually studying on YouTube University.
So I could probably justify it, but I might have to wait until my birthday. Who is that? Someone got LinkedIn on. I'm still working on it. How am
I think that's America.
$285. It's real. Yeah. Okay. So America, you were listening on LinkedIn as well. I think there was a little bit of a time lag. Sorry about that. So it's an investment in your brand, isn't it?
It is. And I didn't do a lot of research. It was just that I was on YouTube trying to find the best equipment that I could in order to do both live streams and podcasts. And I wanted a way for people to be able to call into the show prior to like using Restream, but I wanted them to be able to call via a cell phone, and I would be able to patch that call in, kind of like my own radio show.
Yeah. And that requires a bit of tech. Like what you're doing actually is very complex. Can't do it on a phone. So what Zakia is using is a Rode PodMic USB. You can hear it. You can hear that it's clear, that it's present. Now, what I don't know if you've used this feature, Zakia, but Rode has this very, very, very cool feature specific to them called the DSP, Depth, Sparkle, Punch. Have you played with those features?
I've seen them, but I've never used them. It's under the processing menu, right? And there's presets that are available where I could change it to like Podcast Studio. Does that change my voice at all?
Let's have a listen to that. So,
all right.
So you've activated depth there.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's. I want you to hear this, guys. Rode, RODE, Australian company. I love them. They're Australian. They've got to be good. They have this really cool feature called Depth, Sparkle, Punch, built in to their software and also their hardware. So the depth feature simply makes your voice deeper and more resonant, and you can wind it up and back. Yeah. And that's what
Yeah.
you were doing there, were you? Winding it up
Yep.
and back.
So if I wind the depth up, so that's without it being punched in at all, can you now hear a change as I make that on there, or is that just for show?
No, it's very subtle. It's very subtle. It's probably already. So what we're doing here is we're picking up on the sort of the boom, the rumble, the mud, and the warmth. You might get a bit more warmth in there because you're running the bottom end, what we quite
Mhm.
literally call the bottom end. So this mic is already pretty good, and I've got to be honest, even with headphones on, I'm having a little bit of trouble noticing the difference. So it's already set. It's already preset. The sparkle is where all the magic happens. That's the presence, the crispness, the sizzle, the sheen. Let's play with the sparkle and see if you can hear the difference.
Okay, so now the sparkle is dialed all the way up. Is there a marked difference there?
It's already all the way up.
I just put it all the way up. If I turn it let's turn it all the way down. Okay.
All
So
right.
that's with no
Very,
sparkle.
very subtle. It's just a little bit of magic at the top. Very hard, even with my headphones on. Very hard to hear. But
Wow.
so this mic already is pretty good straight out of the box. But what about the mids, the punch? This is where a lot of magic happens. This is where you get the thickness and the warmth and the clarity and the harmonics.
Okay, so now this is the punch dialed all the way up.
Okay.
No difference, right? And I think that's probably because when I originally came on, it was set to podcast. So it probably had all of them dialed in already. And if I wanted to make changes, but aside from the processing, there's also the echo that's built in, right? So if I wanted to have my echo on, let's see. Now, is that changing anything?
Very
Nope.
little, but my gut feeling is you've got presets going there.
I
that-
do.
Yeah. So you've got presets. This is the great thing about tech at this level. The tech at this level just has a button that says, it's almost like a make me sound good button, isn't it? Just bang,
Exactly.
just push it and it just works. You don't have to know any of this. You only have to know this when you use the cheapy products. Right? Because you have to drive. It's like driving a manual. I haven't driven a manual in 20 years. You have to know where second is. You have to physically put it into third. And then if you're on the highway, maybe fourth or fifth. I haven't done that for 20 years, 50 years, maybe 50 years. No, but when do I drive my last? Probably I haven't done that this century. I hate manual cars. I drive to go to the shops, right? I've got an automatic. So the Roadcaster is like an automatic car. Push a button, sound great. I reckon that's worth $1,000. Push a button, sound great. That's as simple as it is, isn't it?
Yeah. And they have a really easy tutorial when you first turn it on, and it shows you, how the levels can go all the way to the yellow, and it tells you, no, you need to dial it down. So it even walks you through setting it up. And it
Yeah.
has specific settings for the pod mic specifically. So I didn't have to do anything because it's their product, right? So you plug that in, you let it know that it's a pod mic or the Rode Wireless Go, because I'll use that when I'm live streaming, and it automatically knows the correct settings for it.
It's preset, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, Americo, I think I know what happened there. Americo switched to his condenser mic. And because of that, he picked up all this other sound. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. We might try another experiment later. But the really disappointing thing about condenser mics in the wrong room is that it just picks up everything. It absolutely picks up everything. And I think that's what happened there. Don't you think that makes sense? Because you were on your microphone when that happened, weren't you?
Yeah, so when I went into my settings, I lost audio on my headset, and so I was trying to turn on the mic and turn on the earphones, but when they both came on, it almost seemed like it was picking up the sound that was coming from my headset.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that is the challenge. If Cyrus has an NT2, which obviously is the advancement of the NT1. I didn't know there was an NT2. This is a very, 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 very high quality mic, and I'm sure it would have some of that adjustment built in. This is a Rode NT1, and the NT2 is just the adjustment of that. But the idea of mics makes a difference. You can hear it, you can hear the difference in sound between these people that are coming on the show, the guests we have on. We can hear the difference, and it's not money down the toilet to spend $1,000 on a mixer to have a make me sound good button. Because if you don't want to be bothered with working this out yourself, just buy really cool tech, right? I mean, if in a perfect world, I would rather have a car that drives itself, and that's not far away. I would buy one of them. That's what I want. I want a car that takes me to the shops, locks up, and waits for me. I don't want to drive it. I don't want to know how to drive anymore. I want a self-driving vehicle that's not available to purchase yet, but I'll be the first to put my hand up for one, because I just hate driving. I just want to go to the shops, get my stuff, and come back. And that's what a Roadcaster is. It's like a self-driving vehicle. You just push go, and it sounds fantastic. Is that a fairly good analogy, Zakia? It just sounds good plugged in, doesn't it?
It does. And I just followed Cyrus's instructions to lower the depth and jack the sparkle all the way up and punch to the point, or punch to midpoint. So I don't know if that made any difference, but I'm going to be interested to hear how it sounds on the replay.
Yeah. It's very subtle because Rode is so good straight away. And Cyrus, if you want to come in and tell us what you're doing there, this is important, because in order for Cyrus to manage a condenser mic, he must have a very quiet room, because a condenser mic picks up everything. Just to pick up on the idea of trying to get this to sort of boom in the replays, if you do have any questions or comments, please add them, because LinkedIn definitely wants us to have lots and lots and lots of comments so that it can remember that, hey, this was a good show, and we better send this out to more people. So please do that for us. What I wanted to do now is I think we've clearly indicated the difference between a $100 mic and a $285 mic. I think we can see the difference in that. I can hear the difference in that. And this is definitely on my list. But Mike, you've come back in and you've got some tech there to try and have you moved to another room, or how are you going to solve that problem with the television on? What have we got you? Got you there, Mike? Have you got? You want to unmute? Want to try?
I have moved to another room. And I've also changed my setting on my EQ.
Oh, wow. That is miraculous. Tell us what you did. I can hear the difference.
Sounds great.
It's punchy. It's sharp. It's bright. What did you do?
I'm using broadcast high pitch. This is one of the 13 Sonar presets. There's a ton of them. And Keith and I actually went through, not all of them actually, but we went through a bunch of them. And this goes through, as Keith was showing that graphic, this is punching up the low mids and the upper mids. So, and D actually goes negative on the 50 hertz and actually really below 100 hertz. Yeah. So this is punching up my mids, my mid voice, and de-emphasizing the bass. So that's why it doesn't sound so bassy.
Yeah. Now, of course, you can't hear this. You're just relying on us telling you, aren't you? Because you haven't got your headphones on.
Yeah, but, I have some software. I'll go ahead and do that software, see if I can hear myself. Oh, but go ahead.
I want to say hello to Gurpreet. Gurpreet actually is in Toronto, to America. So there's another selfie coming up there. Gurpreet's a good friend of mine in Toronto. I think, well, she was in Toronto when I chatted to her last. So I don't want to put words in her mouth, but jump in if you want to speak, Gurpreet. If you've got a podcast, I know, and I'd love to hear how you do it. But Mike, you have created miracles there, and I just have to know how you did it, because it was chalk and cheese. It was bassy, it was muddy, it was dirty, it was noisy, and you, with a little bit of magic tech, you solved it. Tell us how you did it. I mean, you wound up some of the punch, and you took out some of the bass. Yeah, or you just had a preset for that, did you?
There is a preset, although I can do this manually as well. So once if I play around a little bit more with this, I could do it manually. But this is what they call the broadcast high pitch preset for the Sonar SteelSeries GG EQ. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Yeah, it's a piece of tech, and it's free, isn't it? It's a free piece of tech.
It's absolutely free. Comes with the Steel. Well, actually, in my case, I just downloaded it, but it also comes with their SteelSeries. They have headsets, mostly gamer type gear. But yeah, it's free for download.
Yeah. Now, Americo and Zakia, are you with me? You could hear the difference too.
Absolutely. Yep.
I love this. Now, why this is important is it's called the Microphone Special Edition, and that's because there's 2 things that I'm focusing on this year. One is I do 3 shows a week, but most importantly, I want to be a guest on other people's shows. And Americo and I have a really cool show next week. I'll straight to Americo about this. And my gut feeling is, if you turn up on your laptop in the corner and the bulldozer's going and the kids are crying, you might get one interview, but you're not getting back. You're not getting a second turn. Like, you'll get a reputation for sounding terrible and being unreliable, right? I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm very fussy, but I want to have shows where the guests sound great, and I want to be on a show where I sound great, so I get on more shows. Am I sort of putting words in your mouth there, Americo, or is that sort of what you're thinking as well?
That is exactly what I'm thinking, not only for myself, but the people that I intend to have conversations with as guest speakers. And just, the irony, just to kind of build on this, today I had someone who had reached out to me, watched one of my replays. So this isn't even someone who actively engages with my content. They were just a lurker. They watched one of my episodes, and I got a DM this afternoon saying, "Hey, are you open to podcasting or collaborating and doing a show together?" And this, an introduction with someone who I wasn't aware existed, but here's a prime example of how the LinkedIn effect works beyond just content and connections.
I think it's, and there's Cyrus. I can't wait to hear it. Add your thumbnail if you can, man. I'd love to see your face, although we have got your graphic there. I'll come back to that in a minute. But here we are. Here is Americo. He's on a show, and some person that's lurking didn't tell him who was listening. Hears him and goes, "Man, he's pretty clever. Let's get him on the show." People are looking, people are listening, people are watching, people are actively trying to find guests. Right? And my gut feeling is, if you come on the show with the kids crying and the babies in the background and wife is the microwave going and the news is on and there's someone in the backyard with a bulldozer, you're not getting part 2. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing you're not going to get asked back. Unless you've got extraordinary content which makes up for all that noise, you're just not going to get a second chance. Am I sort of exaggerating there, Americo, or how do you play it when you have guests? How do you choose them, and what's your selection process?
Well, in all honesty, I try to balance my audience and my subject matter. I can't say that and maybe this is just me letting it get in my head. I don't think I have the same authority to be selective. I'm still an emerging micro content creator, so my voice does not resonate as deep as other speakers. Take yourself for example. But as time progresses and as I spend more and more time perfecting this and making it more of an art than just a pastime, then yeah, I would put myself in a position where I may want to be more selective and more cognizant of, hey, what happened during a show that might trigger an invite or trigger that second thoughts, like, oh, I don't know that worked. And you could have great crisp audio, but if there's distractions going on in the background, yeah, probably that person might not be as vested as you might be. And there are the instances, and let's give credit to those who are open to providing constructive feedback. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and that person may have great authority, great following, and everyone is afraid to step up and say, hey, Americo, yeah, you realize that you sound like crap because you had the window open and there's cars driving by. If you don't know that and no one tells you that, you don't even think about it. Right? So it's a two-headed monster that could be argued both ways.
The most important thing is that the microphone does not have a brain to say, I'm just filtering that out. The microphone doesn't have a brain. It hears everything. It is neutral. It doesn't have any discernment to say, hey, I'm sure that the people on the call don't want to hear that baby crying. I'm just going to filter that out, which is what our brain says when we hear the chicken or the rooster or the guy in the airport with the helicopter, right? We don't hear it because we've filtered it out because we don't need it, because our brain told us that. It's pretty miraculous. But the microphone hears everything. The microphone hears everything. So this is very, very important discussion. I'm going to bring Cyrus in. There's a picture of his NT1 or NT2. Tell us, mate, you've got an NT2, which is a condenser mic. It'll sound warm and lovely, but how do you filter out the background noises? We got you them. So there he is, Cyrus. So can you hear me? Do you want to jump in? We're breaking a few.
Can you hear me, guys?
I'm breaking a few rules here. I'm letting him come on video. I'm breaking my own rule. But what do you got? You've got an NT2. How are you filtering out all the background noise? Have you got a nice clean room with a studio, or how are you doing?
Can you hear me, guys?
We can.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cyrus, and it's a pleasure to be here. So, I don't necessarily have to filter out the noise in the background because I have tried my best to. I'm not sure how successful my effort's been, but I've tried my best to create a quiet environment in my studio. It's a bedroom studio, really. What I've done is I've tried to kill off as much reverb as I could. You can't stop the noise from coming in unless you do really good soundproofing. But in terms of the microphone, I'm not sure if you guys can see this. In terms of microphone, I can show you that. It's
got a big picture of it here. They're about $400, and they're like they are the cream of the crop.
Yeah, they're nice. Yeah, they're okay. They do the job. There's better, but these just get the job done. I like it.
So, what's your take on this? Do you have guests, Cyrus?
Yeah, I have a show called Spotlight, and which is a spotlight on podcasts. Therefore, the name Spotlight. And in that show, I ran a survey, and I came to the conclusion that people don't give a crap what your quality is like, to be honest. As long as your focus is on problem solving, the quality doesn't matter that much in my line of work. But there are people who actually do music. There are people who are in a line of work where the quality is of utmost importance. Yes, for those people, that having such microphones or having such setup is really important. Yes, it does. That boominess, that punchiness does give you authority in the eyes and ears of some of your audience, not all. But the real authority lies within your authority. If you want to have authority, you just got to have authority, and that authority comes with knowledge, experience, etc.
I love this discussion. I really want to pick up on this discussion because Americo and I are going to do a show next week about this idea of user-generated content and the idea that what does it take to be a good guest? Like, I'm a host and I know what I'm doing, but when guests come on, how do I decide to have them back? Right now, for me, as the host, it's got to be good quality content, but they've also got to do something with it. And I'm just wondering, when you have guests and when you're a guest, do you do something with the content, or do you let the content speak for itself?
I let the content speak for itself. Most of the content that I promote and advertise is not really content in its traditional sense. It's people's books. You don't get any more authentic content than that. It's someone's book, and pride and joy. And you got to be super careful with that when you're advertising and promoting it. You shouldn't misrepresent it. You shouldn't. You should do your homework. You do most of the work you're doing with their content in the background and beforehand. You got to be super ready when you're approaching the live coverage, really.
Yeah, I want to run the room on this. Because there are a billion people on LinkedIn, and ultimately we have a lot of choices. My gut feeling, and I'm not sure I'm going to be brutal on this anymore, but my gut feeling is if someone doesn't do something with the content, they're not getting part two. I mean, unless someone says, "Mate, I really appreciate this. I promoted it to my team, and I turned it into a video or a blog, or I made a little podcast about it." And we've like last week, America and I did a show. We had 15 pieces of additional content from one show. So proud. That's our record so far, 15, right? Now, last week I did a show. It was a great show. Went 90 minutes, and 2 minutes after the call, never heard from this girl again. Never heard from her. Thank you. Bye. Have a good life. She lives 10 minutes from my house. She's not coming back. Like, she's never going to come back on my show because she didn't do anything with it. The information was great, but it was all in my hands. Right now, Americo, am I speaking out of turn here, or do you think it's a bit of a two-way flow when it comes to being a guest? Do you owe it to the host to do something with it, to promote it, or is the content enough?
I can see it both ways. I think as a bare minimum, a courtesy to the host, if you're invited to an event, promote it, share it with your audience, restream it to your channel as a bare minimum. If you don't want to do anything with it afterwards, if you felt it wasn't your best performance, it wasn't your best content, and you want to remove yourself from what you may feel was a bad representation of your content and your personal brand, then that's your prerogative. But I think we owe it to each other to at least, if anything, share it, promote it, and restream it. And if you don't want to chop it up and create more content, then that's your prerogative. But there should be a minimum or a minimal viable product that comes out of each podcast?
I don't think I've ever told this story. I probably haven't even told my wife, but I used to be a musician. My first ever gig was with this sort of punk band called Guilty as Charged, and they all had tattoos, and it was so cool. And we were the support band. Right? And the guy said, "Mate, we like what you're doing. Come and play before us," right? As a way of sort of saying thank you for just being there and being part of the scene, so to speak. And the guy rang me about 2 days before, and he says, "Mate, I've noticed you're not promoting it. You know, you're not doing anything." I was 18. Right? It's first gig, first band. I was playing bass guitar. Oh, mate, it's my first gig ever. Like, I mean, I'm a bit embarrassed. And would you mind if we just had a few up our belt before I start promoting it? He says, "Well, mate, the reason why I got you to come on the show with us is because you probably have an audience that we don't have. And unless you bring someone, you're not getting another gig." And I said, "Well, that's not fair. I'm just my first gig." We played Thin Lizzy songs, right? The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. I was so nervous, and I didn't want to subject my friends to that. But from the point of view of the band, no one came, so we didn't get another chance. Right? I learned this lesson very, very early. And a mate of mine who's a musician went to a gig, and he saw maybe the best band he's ever seen in his whole life. Right? And he said to the owner of the pub, he said, "Oh, mate, this band's good." He says, "You know, they're good, but no one came. I'm not booking them again." "What do you mean? They're good. Aren't you into bands?" He says, "Yes, I'm into bands as long as they bring friends who drink beer." And no one came, and I just opened the room and I paid staff to sit there and watch them, and no one bought any beer. And even though they're very, very, very good, they're not getting a second turn. And I thought, you know what, this is brutal. Talent is not enough. We got to hustle. Now, here are me talking about hustling. I hate hustling, but if we don't promote our each other's shows, who's going to watch them? And as you said, Americo, you're thinking, "I don't yet have an audience." Well, we need to build your audience because you're bloody good. And we need to help you build that audience. Right? So my gut feeling is if you go on someone's show, you got to help them promote it. You got to hustle for them because they're doing you a favor as much as you're doing them a favor. It's a two-way
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Would you agree with that, Zakir? I know you've never really focused much on the guests, but is it a little bit unfair to expect the guest to hustle for you, or do you think it's the least they can do?
I'm going to go to what Americo said. I think the least you can do is share. Like if you're on the stage, share it to your audience, right? But with all of the AI tools that are out here now, it makes it really easy to repurpose content. But I will give it a caveat. If you already have an existing content calendar, it could make it difficult to mess that up because now you're sending two different messages to your audience, which can cause confusion.
Actually, this is really, really important. I'm going to play a little sound because this is so. I wasn't expecting this, but this is a little bit of bonus content. And now a word from our sponsor. Zakia is arguably the world's leading expert on email marketing, certainly the most important expert that I personally know. And what you've said there really resonates for me because I've got a show tomorrow called "Are You Getting My Emails?" Right. I'm doing a show because I personally do not believe that email marketing works anymore because it doesn't work for me. But then again, I thought, what if you had a lead generation series that was very specific? And this is exactly what you're talking about. What if you'd send out an email every day for 12 weeks in a very logical sequence? That sounds like a lot, and I'll talk about how much you should do. But say, for instance, you send out an email once a week for 12 weeks. And then randomly, in the middle of that 12-week cycle, which leads to a pitch, you go on someone's show. Right? I can see your point there, Zakir. You don't want to muck up that rhythm, do you? Is that sort of
No,
what
and
you're getting at?
it confuses the audience. What are we talking about here? So for the last 2 weeks on LinkedIn, I've been running a series on email marketing. From that, we've gotten 12 signups to our software as a service just from LinkedIn on leveraging email. Now, if I were to now go and start putting, oh, this is what we talked about with microphones in that sequence, I'm going to kill the momentum that has been built because they're going to be like, wait a minute, this isn't what we were talking about. Now, I have shared the video in case my audience, hey guys, in case they see, like, because I'm here, I'll always share a show to my audience, but I am going to have to forego the repurposing of that content until May the 17th when this campaign that's already planned, already scheduled is going out.
Oh man, this is good. This you really opened my eyes to why some people are reluctant. You know the power of repurposing, but you also have a sequence leading to a very specific event about a very specific topic. You happen to come into my show randomly because you were free today, but that's not anything to do with what you're doing in this sequence. And it'll muck up the rhythm. I get it. I totally get it. Does that make sense, Americo? Do you want to pick up on this? Do you have a sequence? We're doing a show tomorrow about, are you getting my emails? Are you getting them? I don't think you're getting them because you're not answering them and you're not reading them. So is it going to spam? I'm so into this topic.
So this is a fascinating topic, and probably a show can come out of this very topic. There is the possibility that, yes, you're going to disrupt whatever campaign or whatever is in your content calendar, but there's also an opportunity, and I understand that it takes time, it's time consuming, but it could be a commenting strategy. So great. You may not want to put that into your ecosystem right now because it doesn't align with what's going on. But if we can engage, I'm open to engaging on your platform and commenting on the value I got from your show. So if I'm a podcast and I feel that, I can't squeeze this in until, a month or two down the road, and it's just not going to make sense a month down the road, then, if you carve out time, and I know time is precious for all of us, but jumping on and engaging in your comments, in your content, and talking about or circling back to, hey, here's, I remember listening to this show or guest speaking on this show and helping someone with some form of UGC, providing a link to the replay, that might work as well.
I'm so fascinated by this topic because I think content has evolved. Content has evolved to the point of view that it's not a broadcast anymore. And it seems silly for me to say this because this is indeed a broadcast. But if Americo picks this content up and says, mate, I was on this really cool show today, that has a lot more power than to say, hey, guess what? I did a really cool show today. I am so clever. I did this really cool show and you need to listen to me. It's sort of some people can do it, but it's not my style. But if America or Zakia or Bez or Cyrus or Michael came on the show and then took a bit of that content and said, this is what I got from this show. We danced around a bit, but here is what I took away from it. They have an audience that I don't have. Using the example of the pub owner that says, mate, this band is good, but no one bought any beer and I'm not having them back because I paid 3 people to sit at the bar and that's exactly what he said. I paid 3 people to sit at that bar and watch this awesome band. Not a single person bought a beer. They're never getting another gig in this hotel. We were horrified when he heard, well, we're the only ones there. We were horrified to hear him say that. Angry, right? Because we were musos at the time. What do you mean? You got to support band? No, I don't have to support bands. I'm running a pub. Pubs have bands so that people will buy beer in that order. If the bands don't bring any people, we don't sell beer. I can have poker machines in the corner and people buy beer and pull these one-armed bandits. Cost me nothing, which is what is happening in Australia. So I think that the content has changed the way we view the world. And I personally don't think it's enough to just turn up and talk. I personally don't think it's enough. And I'm pretty brutal with that because I've been doing it like for 20 years. And I'm really angry when people don't do anything with it. But what Zakiya said was very, very relevant. Well, it's going to spoil my flow. I get it. I get flow. And we're going to talk about this at great length tomorrow. And why don't we bring Bez in? Mate, you probably danced in a bit late and you probably don't know what we're talking about, but we're talking about the idea of how important is it to sound good to be a guest? And when you are a guest, should you do something with the content or should the content speak for itself? What do you think?
I'm here, a shelf fell, so I'm pounding on, trying to fix it, but my sound might not be the best, but I promise not to pound the wall. Yeah, I think, you should sound the best you can, but you have to know the guidelines of the show. And if there's a certain standard, that should be stated, and you go from there, right? So that way that everybody's operating in integrity. In regards to doing something with the content, absolutely. Now, you got to make sure that people, like everybody has a different time. Like if I could probably do something between 9 and 10 in the morning, but after that, my day's begun, right? But I think, yeah, we should be doing something with the content. I'm not always on top of that, but I think if we're on shows or we're hosting a shows, we should do at least something and post something. So I like Keith, I know I'm guilty of that, but yeah, that's my intent, is to engage with the content, share it. So what do we call it? To give it a little love, and we all benefit from it. So yeah, I'm a believer in that.
I think the very, very important point here is we all have different time schedules. But as most people would know, like I am possibly the biggest super connector that I personally know. And I'd love to meet another one because I can just, I just love to learn how to do it better. But my brain, about 10% of my brain is dedicated to helping others, about 10%, probably more, but at least 10%. So every time I hear someone like Gurpreet is in Toronto. Now I know that. So Americo and Gurpreet could meet. I can feel a song. Americo and Gurpreet could meet in Toronto. We could make that into a little song. So my brain works that way. So when someone comes on the show and says, thanks, have a good life, and I never hear from them again, really pisses me off. Like I plan shows 3 months ahead, and I've had shows where the person turned up a minute before. No prep, no sound check, no confirmation that they're going to come. A minute before. I'm here. What do we do? Well, okay, you came. That's good. I wasn't sure you were going to come. I've had people turn up 90 minutes late. Oh, shit, I didn't get the memo. Right? So very, very difficult to get excited about that. I think it's a two-way flow. And look, I'm just a guy from Melbourne, Australia with a fancy mic. Not that special, but it's my show. And my brand, my ego in a way is on the line. So I think it's not only the show itself. I think it's possibly what you do with the material or the intention or the ability to help others independently. Like if you haven't yet, everyone that I know should be on my friend Tim's show. It's a very good example. My friend Tim in London has a show called Tim Talk, which is loosely based on the TED Talk idea. And he's done 500 shows on YouTube. and about 300 of them are my friends. So it's a great thrill when, like America, you went on this show, and it's a very good example of what I'm talking about. We got to help each other, haven't we?
Absolutely. And I intentionally have not invited Tim, not because I don't want to, but because of his audience. I also need to be cognizant of the fact that, all right, am I polished enough? Like, he's got a pretty big audience, and you introduced me to him, and I'm so grateful for it. I was worried at one point, like, am I coming on a little too early? Do I need a little bit more polish to my conversation? And I figured, you know what? That's the whole, you talk about manifesting something, and then you talk about imposter syndrome. It's like, I let it get to me. So I just jumped in, and any opportunity that comes, I'm going to take it. And I know that we got to work with time zones, but I want to reciprocate. And I think it's important that we reciprocate. When you invite someone, whether it's through content, I'm pretty sure that having them return as a guest on your show is also a really, really meaningful way to reciprocate.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite phrases is, if you want to have friends, be one. The best way to have friends is to be a friend. So I always invite people to my show first before I go on their show, unless they happen to grab me before I know about them. I always invite people to my show first because I'm thinking, look, you come on my show first, and then if you want to, I'll come on your show. I'll be first. I'll lead. Come on my show, and then if you have a show, I'll go on your show. And that seems fair. If you don't have a show, then you can't offer that facility. But I think it's a reciprocal arrangement, and I'm starting to play around with this because there is definitely a trend to UGC, user generated content, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, if I said, you know what, I'm pretty awesome. I bought a new mic and I'm so excited, and you should listen to my show because I'm just the coolest dude. Well, that's just bullshit. But if Tim, my friend from London, who's got like 38,000 followers, said, mate, you've got to follow Keith. He's such a dude. He wouldn't say it that way, but you've got to follow Keith. He's a lovely man. Then that means a lot more. It's, user generated content tells people that here is this person on the other side of the planet or on the other side of the street that did me a favor, and I'm returning that favor. Right? User generated content, I think, is probably the most underrated thing on the internet today. I mean, a lot of people don't realize the power of it. And I guess I'm trying to fabricate it in a way, educate my audience about it. And we're currently at 15 pieces of content for our last show. But Americo, what's our next show about?
Well, you touched on it. UGC, user generated content. And because of what we were able to cultivate and nurture, I put out a poll that is probably coming to the end of its cycle, asking my audience of whether or not they felt there's value in UGC for personal branding, or is UGC just something people, influencers, do for physical products? And there's a certain percentage that responded, what's UGC? So there's a show in itself, which we'll probably add that to our agenda, and different ways of looking at UGC. So from a marketing perspective, UGC for some people is just about promoting a physical product and a physical brand, where I see it going way past and way beyond that, because I don't have anything tangible to sell. I have advice, I have my thoughts, my opinions, as do you, and my life experience to share with my audience and my customer base. So now it's about finding people who not only resonate, but are willing to turn around and say, hey, here's someone you should meet, and here are the reasons why. And it doesn't have to be paid. In fact, if it's not paid, it's even better because it's authentic. People resonate with authentic, and we hear that consistently from other larger voices on the social platform. There's nothing better and nothing more fulfilling and rewarding than to have or post a show and people come in or they drop it in the comments. Wow, that was fantastic. And I'm starting to see that, and I think it's important to share that with my audience. If you're following me, you'll see that I now focus on sharing those sentiments and sharing that to raise awareness. Say, hey, this isn't Americo saying this. This is part of Americo's audience saying this, and it came through a comment. It was unsolicited. So let me drop in and give Americo a couple of minutes of my time to see if what people are saying also resonates with me. And that's how, it smolders, and one day it's going to catch fire, and you're going to be a brand name and a staple on people's Rolodex.
We're dancing around a subject I think we need to dive deep into.
All right, dive
Let's
in.
hear it.
Tell me what you're thinking.
That's community. So what we're talking about when we're talking about UGC or we're building followers, we're building community. And so that's why people are going to, like, particularly UGC that is follow generated, is going to come from, they're really digging whatever you're selling, so to speak, even if it's just you, America, you're selling yourself. And you're also selling kind of a vibe. Like, I would argue that our dear Bez sells a vibe, Keith sells a vibe. I haven't, I think I listened to one of your shows, but we're all selling a vibe or it could be expertise, it could be products in some cases. Indirectly, Keith is he's not selling the products, but he's introducing the products. So I think that what Keith is talking about in repurposing is a kind of, and you've talked about this also sort of after the fact, and that there is life post broadcast. And I think so you have to, if you're getting a following that is really digging your stuff, like I'm thinking back into my early Joe Rogan days. I was very active in the particularly the YouTube stuff. I don't necessarily watch it, but I listen to it, and I tend to be very active in the comments. So what's that doing? I know Joe doesn't necessarily look at the comments, but that actually builds community. And you'll get a sense of kind of what's stirring, if you will, in the zeitgeist of the audience through the comments. And I think it's also important as creators to follow on, like to engage, so that when you do a cast and then people are commenting, and then you comment, that again, then you're generating like this flow of community. And people that can do that well are going to grow. They're going to grow fast, typically, or at least they'll grow steadily and maintain a following because they're building community.
Yeah, I love what you're saying here. This specific, if you don't know this is specifically related to LinkedIn, because the way the current algorithm works in 2025, it will change, of course, but is that LinkedIn will show your post to a few people. And if they promote it, then they'll keep taking it up the line. But if they send it to 100 people and they all do nothing, then LinkedIn does nothing. So part of the idea of promoting the show is that the community, your followers, have to do something with it, which is why we're hoping that by getting some more comments during the show and replays after the show, the show might go a little bit viral. We've had up to 1,500 replays of this show, the sound check show, so it's working. Americo, have you done much more research on the idea of the comments being part of the process? Have you worked out how to do that yet, or is there any definitive research on that?
So I am continuously keeping a close eye. Last week, maybe not the best week to do any form of research. In fact, the outcome has opened my eyes to listener fatigue. So as we know, it was a holiday, and Friday there wasn't much going on in terms of social media activity. I hosted 3 shows last week. I had to move things around and rescheduled one, and resulting in 3 shows being broadcast. And I know you do this week in, week out, but my audience isn't used to me showing up 3 times. So my show on Tuesday was canceled because LinkedIn and Restream weren't playing.
That's right. You were competing against some
Right?
sort of fancy launch, weren't you?
Yes. So that particular time, I was a small creator. I wasn't given any bandwidth, and I just couldn't broadcast. So that one's being bumped over to Wednesday. So, but as
with
we
that in
drew
mind,
closer,
didn't we run some polls about this? Is really fascinating. I really want to picking up on the idea of what the audience wants. I ran this poll, picking up on your poll, like we bounce off each other. What days of the week do you want me to do my show? And you can have 5. LinkedIn has now introduced this new feature where you can have 5 options now in 2025. So I said Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't work weekends. I don't care if you want content on the weekends. I'm not doing it because I'm with my wife. I'm not doing it. I don't work weekends. I spend it with my wife. So those options are not on the table, even if you want them, not from me. So I said, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And Americo, were you as surprised as me at the result of that?
I was befuddled to learn that Friday is running away on this 5-day horse race.
It was like
What is it at 40%?
62, I think. I mean, 62% of people want their content. Let me just check it now. We've had 43 votes, and 44% of people want their content on a Friday. Now, I want to pick up on this. Why is this, do you think? Isn't Friday like a rest day and getting ready for the weekend day? I would have thought everyone's sort of getting ready for the weekend and relaxing, but can we pull this apart? Why do you think people want content on a Friday?
I can't wrap my head around it other than, and this is all speculative thinking, people have checked out of their work accountability, but aren't ready to unplug. So they just want something to help them wind down.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. But the most important piece of content, or the subsequent poll we did there, was the time. Did that surprise you?
So I haven't checked today, but yes, people want, like, was it an afternoon?
8 p.m. They want 8 p.m.
Yeah. On a Friday, it's like, I don't know. It's could people be pulling our legs? It's possible.
Let's have this chat. I mean, so people were saying, these are 2 separate polls that don't relate to each other. So it could be, look, I'm not saying I want content on Friday nights at 8 p.m. I'm at the pub, but I want content on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. What do you think, Mike? When would you like to watch content, listen to content? And I really want to hear this. What day of the week do you want to hear it? And what time of the day do you want to hear it?
Well, for me, it's going to be even in the evening and most likely earlier in the week. I'm kind of with you on the Friday thing where I'm sort of winding down for the weekend. And then in the mornings, I have quite a few things that are, quite a few things scheduled, so it doesn't really fit for me in the mornings, generally, on the East Coast.
Yeah, and that would. This is important because I don't want to talk at the wall, or as we've famously said, talk to the rooster. I mean, I want to do content that people want to listen to, because my show is all about the community. Yeah. And it makes sense to me that Friday night at 8 p.m. we're at the pub. I'm at the pub with wifey having a couple of margaritas. Shh. But I'm getting the train. I'm not driving. I'm completely safe. Getting the train, having a couple of margaritas, and then having a meal. I mean, that makes sense to me. Adrienne says the same. Actually, Friday is actually part of the weekend now. Seems people are already in weekend mode by Friday. What do you think, Cyrus? Vino Torino. I'm really interested in what type of wine that is, because Carol, my wife, has just introduced me to sparkling Shiraz, which I think is going to become my new thing. But what do you think about Friday nights and 8 p.m. and what days of the week do you want content, and what time of the week do you want it?
That wine is Shiraz, by the way. So in terms of the question is such a beautiful, analytically beautiful question. I've thought about it before. I've applied it to my business, and I've had a tiny bit of experience regarding it. So I'm going to share it with you guys. So I'm constantly checking my analytical stats, and I came to the conclusion that most of the people listening to my podcast and most of the people watching my live shows, they are decision makers of the businesses. So what do CEOs and decision makers do is really interesting. So what they do is they delegate until they have to do the stuff that only they can do, right? So they do most of that stuff on Friday, because in the CEO's head, Friday is the beginning of the week. Why? The real week starts on Saturday and Sunday for a CEO, because nobody's bothering you. Okay, you are in your own world, and a show like yours is thought-provoking. If people are asking you to do it on a Friday, that means over 64% of your audience are potentially, what I'm saying is just contemplation here, right? I am speculating here, but it's speculation purely. I haven't seen your stats, but there's a good chance most of the people listening to your show are decision makers and difference makers in a business, and the rest of them could be the social media strategists. Okay, because in your shows, people learn. I learn strategy in your show because the type of guests you invite, including Americo and the rest of the fantastic people on the stage, they are people who are hands-on all the time, right? So you learn. I tend to learn from these people. Okay, that's why I'm here. And in terms of timing, you create it, I watch it. It doesn't matter what time you create. When you have diehard fans, you have just people who watch or listen when they have the time. I come to the show. It's 20 to 3 a.m. 23 a.m. here in the UK. So I have come to your show. Why? Because I'm here to learn. I'm a CEO of 2 companies. So
that is very cool. That is so cool. There's a couple of things to unpack there. One is, if you make content so compelling, people will come regardless of what time it's on.
Mm-hmm.
But the second, I would never have thought of this, because maybe in my brain, I am a worker. I work Monday to Friday and I have weekends off. I don't work nights. I don't work weekends. I work Monday to Friday in my brand. And then weekends are for wifey. We go bike riding and walking on the beach and out to breakfast and out for dinner. But business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are in a sort of a different zone, during the week, they have to sort of deal with the people stuff. But on the weekends, it's really their time to shine. I choose to rest. They choose. That's their high impact time, isn't it? I didn't know this. I've never heard this before, but it makes a lot of sense. If you are the owner of a business, You're not going out to breakfast on a Saturday afternoon and walking on the beach. You own a business. You're strategizing about how to get your next $1 billion. You know, Canva today, I'm very, very excited. Canva, Australian company, $3 billion in revenue. The number
surprised.
one female generated business in the world. Number one, $3 billion. And she's an Aussie. Not a friend of mine yet, but an Aussie. She's not having lunch at the beach. She's working. Right? Now, I'm not sure I want that life, but that's the life she has. And I don't know her yet enough to ask her that question. But you are right. On a weekend and a Friday, and when everyone else is out, the CEO and the entrepreneurs, they're busy doing all the hustling, aren't they?
That's when they listen to audiobooks. And if they take time out of their schedule and listen to you, you must be important to them. Otherwise, they've got other stuff to do. They've got a business that is time consuming, and is energy consuming. They listen to you, you must be important to them. End of.
Well, that is a
Isn't that good in
fascinating
America?
perspective.
What, isn't that a great insight?
That is I'm humbled with what I just learned. So I thank you, Cyrus. So I jumped as you were talking.
It's all right. Life's hard, my friend. It's 20 to 3 a.m. Why am I here? Because this show is significant in my life. That's why I come to it.
So I jumped into my analytics and take your hypothesis, and it makes absolute sense. The top job titles and in my my community: founders, CEOs, owners, co-founders, and presidents. So it would make absolute sense if they said Friday is the best day for me at 8 p.m. Yeah. Keith, I'd like to retract my smarmy remarks and recognize that, hey, there's an opportunity. Your wife might not like it if you make that decision to go live Saturday morning.
But people would listen.
The people would listen.
You know, I think I'll do some Googling on this, but I think Benjamin Franklin, I just remember this sort of quote from a long time ago. Benjamin Franklin was famous for spending his Saturday nights in reflection. And people would question him and go, mate, why are you doing that? Aren't you going out with friends and family and having a few wines by the fire? He says, Saturday night is the absolute best time to do my best work because there's no one around. They're all out. Everyone's having a good time, and I'm just in my area. Like, this is genius, like Benjamin Franklin. And and I think that's right. When everyone else is out there doing it, having fun, they say that, you know, it's never crowded on the extra mile because there's no one there. It's never crowded on the extra mile because everyone's put down tools at 6 o'clock and gone to the pub. Not everyone, but most people. Right? And because we got lives and wives and kids and we got to eat. But the really sharp ones are thinking, you know, this is the essence. This is when the good stuff happens. I'm going to try this. I don't know what my wife's going to say. Hey, it's Friday night, honey. Do you mind if I just sort of lock myself in the spare room for 2 hours and brainstorm on my next big idea? I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm happy with that. But all right, no worries. We can try it. See how long it lasts. But it's such a sharp insight into why people do it, even if it doesn't necessarily suit our life. It's worth trying, isn't it? I think it's worth trying. Do you think you could get away with it, Mike? Or could you get away with sort of hiding yourself away on a Friday night? Or is that your power time for downing tools and going out for tea?
Friday night might work. Weekends would not, because like you, that's my wifey time. I was looking at my analytics. The bulk of them are senior or C-suite in New York City with company size over 10,000.
Boom.
Have you thought of doing your own content in this format, Mike, I know you've got a newsletter. Have you thought of doing a show?
I'm still trying to sort that out. I am liking guesting. In fact, I have another guest shot this week. So I'm getting out from underneath this. I don't know if it's imposter syndrome as much as the video thing. So I am doing more video appearances. So I think eventually, yes, I'll just have to figure out. It'll probably be sort of a tag team or something similar to my newsletter as far as subject matter.
Well, let's have this discussion about podcasting versus podguesting, or whatever you want to call it. People still believe that YouTube is a podcast. That's heresy to me, because I've been podcasting since 2008, and the word podcasting means audio only. But I'm old. I'm a UG. I'm like the original OG, OG, not UG. It was called UG back in 2008. So, what's the difference between podguesting and podcasting as a host? A lot of differences, but what are the advantages? Cyrus, you go first. Have you done some podguesting and pod hosting? Which do you prefer, and what's working for you?
I personally, I've done both. Yeah, I've been a guest on shows, and I've been a host, but mostly I've been a host, because it's like it's like playing football. When you when you're playing home, the chances of winning is much higher. However, that's me speaking from my comfort zone, and the only thing that happens in the comfort zone is comfort. Success doesn't happen there a lot. So basically, since I went to other people's shows, I managed to use their network to my advantage, because when I go to someone's show, like as an example, I am on your show here now, yours and Bez's. When I go and check my stats on my websites, within the next 7 days or so, I see a significant sharp rise in my stats, right? So, and it doesn't matter how many people are in that show, because the loyal people will watch it later. So, I highly recommend going to other people's shows and contributing and helping and problem solving, because that puts people in a way in your moral debt. And in order to reciprocate, that's a law of reciprocation, isn't it? In order to reciprocate, they will go to your contents and check your content, and that or even curiosity, sheer curiosity causes that phenomenon. They just go and find out who you are, what is it you're on about, and how is it they can collaborate with you, etc., etc.
Yeah, I noticed this. I definitely noticed this when I was on Americo show. I haven't told you this, Americo, and this is a good shout out for you. As a result of going on your show last week, I have had 125 new followers this week. That's like my highest score. Never done that before. 125 new followers as a result of going on your show last week or the week before. Massive spike. Massive. Over and above anything I could have done myself. So let's start with the podcasting idea, because both are possible. I do both. I do like driving the show. I like the idea that I'm in charge, but I've got to do bloody everything. I've got to find the guest. I've got to run the show. I've got to buy the tech. I've got to replay. I've got to promote it. A lot of work, but I'm in charge. So I set the tone. It's my win. When I go on someone else's show, I'm sort of getting an audience by default, but obviously I've got to be at a level where I'm worth being a guest. And obviously there's massive advantages in being a guest, but what does the host get? So can you explain that to me? You do quite a few shows now. What do you look for in a guest that makes it worth reaching out to them?
Well, for me, it's they have to align with the subject matter. So it's about captivating the audience's attention and understand that I'm not here to feed my ego as much as I am here to um, educate and bring value to my audience. I can't be all things to all people, and I think if I felt that I could, people would get tired of America marching to the beat of his own drum. So it's important that you find someone that complements you, brings value to the subject matter that you're discussing, and ensures the value proposition that you're broadcasting to your audience. I talk about bringing value. I talk about helping be seen, heard, and remembered, and I provide a stage for that for my guests. And I'm humbled to hear how many new followers you got from that show. But it is a true testament to what I'm trying to build here, whether it's helping someone with their personal brand or helping a business scale and build and gain more revenue or retain more customers. This is a fantastic to what I'm trying to orchestrate here. This isn't about
it's a great testimonial. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
125 followers as a result of coming on your show. You did all the work. I just turned up. Like, we've been doing this a long time, so we reciprocate, and we made it a bit of fun. Just to let you know, we set the tone by saying we would like 10 pieces of content to come from this show. We'll go first. I send it to YouTube and I send it to LinkedIn. Americo sent it to LinkedIn and to YouTube. There's 4. Where do you want to take it? Someone picked it up and wrote a blog post. I went and got a Google notebook. Blah, 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 blah. Right. And we got 15. Right. And this is what it's all about. Do you want to pick up on this, Bez? What do you look for in a guest, and what is it about pod guesting and pod hosting that differs? How do you decide on who comes to the show, and what do they add to you?
In regards to finding out somebody that is, I'm going to invite to the show, it's got to be someone that is relevant to my audience and the subject at hand, right? So I'm recording a career podcast, and I've got up to 7, 8 working on my my next one. And so I bring people that are relevant. Like when I interviewed you, I already knew part of your story about your career, and I liked that it wasn't perfect because life isn't perfect. And I like some of the challenges you had early on in your career and where you are today. That was fascinating because what someone told you early in your professional life would have devastated most people. You, I think, put that chip on your shoulder to prove them wrong. And, you look at your LinkedIn banner, you've got some recognition, and, you were known around the world as the Twitter dude, and so on and on and on. I like that story from where you are to triumph. So that was fascinating to me. So on that side, that's my criteria. On the, and do you want me to stop there for a second?
I just love what you're doing there, because as a host of a podcast that will be on iHeartRadio, like, it's a good one to have. It's a great one to have on your resume. My podcast interview with Bez will be on iHeartRadio.com. I'm pretty proud to say that.
Mm-hmm.
So we both win. You get a good interview and I get some kudos. Right? So what does it feel like to be on the other side? How do you add value, or have you done much of the pod guesting? How does that feel?
I've done a few. And so just before I go on to pod guesting, and one of the things, Keith, that when we get up and rolling, there also will be a campaign to promote any podcast, your podcast. Like I would like a week lead time before it drops to promote it, right? So that we do it justice, right? Because people just don't roll out of bed and know that my podcast exists. You really got to put a lot of marketing and promotion behind it, or you have to leverage the network. And I am on a on a network. So that's important. So going on, and that's why this you were talking about, give and get, where you're if you come on a show, you should be helping promote. Now, I've I would like to say that happens for most of the what I've seen. It rarely does. So you have to do your own promotion. Unfortunately, the other one on the receiving side, I like to make sure that they're going to be okay with my views, right? That, I have because if I get interviewed and someone says, well, and they want a vanilla person, well, I'm not that person. And I tell them right off the bat, I'm a little bit controversial because I tell people quit applying. And what I've gotten from the host is quite the opposite, that they actually are more intrigued to interview me because I have some may call it polarizing, some may call it a different point of view and whatnot. And well, I have my view because, it's a view that I've lived, me never getting a job ever because I applied. It's always been through the 99 other ways to get a job. And so that I can talk about. And I think it's, when people are zigging, I try to zag, but my zag is who I am. It's authentic to me. It's not fake. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. It's just got to make sense. They got to know I'm not going to be your vanilla, and they got to be okay with, and I don't think it's a radical point of view. I just think that too many people are out there preaching how to apply. And I'm like, well, if it's a 0.03% success rate, why are we doing that? So anyways,
I'd love
I'll
to hear
land it.
Preet's thoughts on that. One of the things, Ksenia would be an excellent guest for you because she has a fantastic story. Her story started at 30, mine started at 40. But one of the things we chatted about on the show last week was, is a personal brand pretty pictures? Right. Or is it what you just said, being authentic? Like, it's not authentic for me to put my video on. I have gone to market as the social audio guy, right? So if I suddenly turned up on people's YouTube channels, that would actually be, in a way, a weakening of my brand. Now, it gets me into a lot of trouble. Like, I have an argument with someone almost every day about this. But I am the audio guy, right? And sometimes you got to stick up for that. And what that means is that I am authentic to me. And what the question I'm really asking is that what personal branding is? And I want to pick up on this idea.
Yes,
Ksenia and I, yeah? Do you think it's being authentic, or is it just having a couple of pretty pictures up there in spite of what you're thinking?
Absolutely not. I agree with you. I think that personal branding, actually, it's interesting. I was just listening to an Audible over the weekend, and Amazon has some free ones, right? And it happened to be one, and it was a 2-hour one, really easy to listen. And it was an expert talking about branding. And when it came into where it starts, I was like, yes, this is my person. Because they talked about branding is beyond, the color, the font size, and all the ways to package you in a pretty or presentable way. It really starts with, how do you show up? Who are you? And how do people talk about you when you're not in the room? All those things that, whether good, bad, or indifferent, is your brand, right? You show up as the audio guy. I don't think I've seen you on video except, on the blue moon I don't even know if I've ever seen you on video. I can't remember, but for the most part, you are the audio guy. You don't put your video on, and the day you start showing up on video, I think you're going to confuse all of us. So I would say if that's your brand, because that's who you are and that's what's authentic to you, then I would stick with it, because people will not mistaken who you are. They will know who you are because of exactly that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Bez, because what inspired me is I am open to suggestions, and and I've been looking at a lot of Gen Z posts, and a lot of these girls are taking photos of themselves with an iPhone in the mirror. And I'm thinking, what is LinkedIn doing? This is like usually in gym pants, right? I'm working out today. I'm doing it. I'm getting my exercise in. I'm thinking, well, look, what has this got to do with business? I mean, good on you. Good on you for going having a workout or having a baby. But why does you having a baby on your arm lifting weights with the other hand with an iPhone? What has that got to do with business? Right? And it really confused me because I'm thinking LinkedIn is this place that I go to learn things. And I've got to be honest, I've never seen a guy doing a selfie on LinkedIn. I never see it. Is it a girl thing? Is it a Gen Z thing? And I asked Ksenia this, and it made me realize that pretty pictures are only a very, very, very small part of your personal brand. You've got to have something to say. You've got to have something that you stand for. Otherwise, you're just very vanilla. Okay, there's another girl with a baby lifting weights with an iPhone. And I don't know if she's only got two hands, so I'm not sure how she can do all those three things. But you know what I mean? It got me thinking that what is personal branding? What do you think, Mike? It's very important that we have this discussion for you because you're a sort of a cybersecurity guy, and you want to let people know that. What's personal branding mean to you?
Personal branding to me means integrity and consistency and privacy protection. So, I mean, like I'm doing. In fact, I just did a presentation this morning on AI, and so in order to do that, you'll find as a guest, at least on a number of shows like the one I did with Bez, I prepare quite a bit. So I think as a guest, you should prepare, but also maybe be aware or be light on your feet too. So if the host wants to take, I think you need to work with the host though often to ahead of time, like we did with the one with the immersive events, because when you prep and then you're in tune with each other, I think it just makes the show flow better.
I agree.
We can almost finish each other's sentences type of thing. And we both know where the show's going. So I think that's important. As far as the brand, I'm going to say this because I'm saying this to job seekers too, is you have to not only just be aware of your brand, you have to believe in your brand. And I think this is really important for all of us, is that to some degree, I think it's natural to have imposter syndrome a little bit, or wonder kind of how we're doing. And I think we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to other people. We should be comparing ourselves to our past self. In other words, are we improving? Because I think that's really what's important is and Americo talked about offering value. I think that value is growth, and that value is authenticity, and that value is providing your follower audience with some sort of value, whatever that is. And again, for me, from a cybersecurity executive position, that is thought leadership. That is looking over the horizon at what's coming. That is commenting, maybe on what we should be doing as citizens to move our governments towards, protecting consumers better. And so that's the type of thing that I look to do when I'm building a brand. So it really has to do with, I wouldn't even say, I don't know if I want to say authority. And the one thing that had slipped my mind when you guys were talking about quality, mic quality, is whether we like it or not, there is authority that comes across in clarity and better sound. If you are being distracted, or even if you're coming across with a scratchy sound, and I say this reluctantly, Keith, that there is some authority with a better quality sound.
Yeah, well, let me
So
pick up on this. Let me pick up on
that plays into it. Yeah.
I'm going to talk now about what I call the proximity effect. I didn't coin this phrase. It's not my phrase. But there is this thing called the proximity effect, and I want to demonstrate it right now, and we can do this together. So if I intentionally speak into the mic in a very calm and authoritative way, the bass frequencies naturally are enhanced, and the sound is better and more clearer. And arguably, you think of me as more of an authority on this subject. If I'm speaking to you on my laptop, or the mic's a long way away, and you're thinking, well, I can sort of hear what he's saying, but really, I don't think he knows what he's talking about, because look at him. He's so far away. He might as well be in the backyard. And this is only one arm's length away. And this is actually what we call the proximity effect. Now, why this is important to me is that so many people call in on their laptop and they think, oh, I can hear it. You can hear me. What's wrong with that? Well, it sounds like you're at the end of a very long tunnel and you're trying to make yourself heard, but no one can hear what you're talking about because there's so many other background noises. Right, this is what we call the proximity effect. Now, could you hear that? I exaggerated it to make a point, but could you hear the difference there, Mike, of what it sounded like when I was speaking into the mic and when it was a sort of half a meter away?
You mean kind of like this?
That's right.
And like this?
Yes.
Yes, I can. And hence the lovely dynamic mic as well. That makes a difference. But yes. And I do agree that there is maybe even psychological. I don't think people that aren't necessarily thinking about it would grasp that right away, but there is something to be said about the proximity effect and, like I said, better quality audio.
Now, did you hear that, Americo? Could you tell the difference of when both Mike and I spoke close and then far away? Did you hear that tunnel effect? I'll get you them, Americo.
Yeah, I was on mute. Yes, you can definitely tell the difference. Now, I don't know if the same could be said on a headset. Can you notice the difference if I?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, so it does work with the headset as well.
And what about you? What about you, Bez? Did you hear the difference when we were close and far? And do you want to try that yourself?
Yes, I could tell the difference. So this is me eating the mic, and I'm probably about 1.5 feet away. How does that sound?
It sounds like this. It sounds like you're in the Hobbiton, like you're in a tunnel. I can hear you, but
Right.
But to your point, you don't have authority. I can hear what you're saying. The words are audible, but I don't necessarily trust you. Like if you came into my show and you're in the backyard talking to the guy kicking his footy at the veggie patch, and you're thinking, "Oh, mate, Keith, look, while you're there, can you just sort of put my name down? I'll talk next." You know, well, okay, maybe. But if you said, "Look, I'm really into this, Keith. I know what I'm talking about. Trust me. Can I talk next?" Totally different experience. America, that was slightly audible for you, but you're lucky. This is actually quite lucky. Your sort of setup is built in. So you can't have the proximity effect really because it's built in. Like you are approximately nearby. Unless you go really, really and bend things, you can't actually stuff this up.
That's right.
So in a way, you've got almost the perfect arrangement. It sounds good. It just wraps around your head and it plugs in. and it didn't cost that much. It's an ideal scenario. So you may not need to upgrade. You already sound pretty good.
Just the ear saunas.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
explain to me what that means, Bez. Sorry, Michael, I've never heard of this phrase until what happens with ear saunas? Your ears get hot, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I actually bought a very expensive, very nice pair of Sony headsets. They're wireless for my wife. And I cannot wear them more than, I would say, 10 to 15 minutes because I don't know if it's the brain waves that are coming out of this super large head of mine or what, but they get they heat up, and they literally are uncomfortable. And I don't know if they necessarily. I think they, well, certainly in the summer, they tend to get hot and sweaty. So that's why I call them ear saunas.
Wow,
Yeah.
I've heard this phrase. Do you have that phrase? Do you have that problem too? After a while, America.
So if you catch some of my shows, depending on what the ambiance is in the room in terms of temperature, yes, the air sauna effect does happen. It's to the point where you'll see me grab my headset and readjust them because they're sliding off my head.
Oh, okay, because you have your video on, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Do you have this problem, Bez? I've never heard of it until Mike has mentioned it. Do you have the problem when you've got headphones on that your ears get hot and itchy? And I've never heard of it.
No, not really. I mean, my headphones give me some breathing. I don't know. They breathe pretty good, even though they're closed. But what I do is I get up and walk around, at least every couple hours, take the dogs out. So, I'm taking a break. I don't always have the headphones on or the headset, and I also have those that I need to connect that wrap around the ear and have the little thing that goes in, like the newscasters. I have one of those, so I may start using that if I get on a real long call. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, it's very, very important.
Or on
So,
one of Keith's shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we've been going 2 hours, and I promised a lot of people couldn't come today. And I promised that I'm going to make, as a relationship with America, I wasn't really that interested in the replays, but one of these shows, these sound check shows, has had 15,000 views, America. So it must be a thing. It must be a format people like. So the three things I wanted to talk about today are: one, why is a microphone important? Two, what's the difference between a condenser and a dynamic microphone? And we can sort of pick up on that in a minute. And also this idea of echo, right? And I want to briefly touch on it here for anyone who is on the show and wants to, has that problem. I have that problem with guests a lot, and I've found a very simple solution. So before we do the echo thing, do you want to pick up on this dynamic condenser suggestion? Bez, have you had both, or have you only ever had that Behringer?
I just have dynamic mics, and I buy them on purpose because I don't have a soundproof and a treated room, because there is a difference. I mean, most of us don't have that professional soundproof room unless you're maybe you do voiceovers and they're true pro type of setup. And, those people actually do use a lot of condenser mics, right? Because for me and you, Keith, if the neighbor drops a pin in their kitchen, we'll hear it, right? So, but these other people that are professionals, they buy those mics a lot and the condensers, and they can be quite expensive, but that's like a tool for their trade, their business. So,
And when you can hear it,
yeah.
you can hear it. We can hear it because we're attuned to it.
Mhm.
And there is a difference between a $1,000 microphone and a $100 microphone. There is a difference. I want to give you a very good example of this. This is my next gadget. I'm definitely buying one. They're only $175. I'm already working on the pitch for wifey. This is a Zoom P2. right? It's $175. Right? Now, the reason I'm going to buy it is because it works specifically with USB microphones. Now, I already have a P4, but I want to be the resource for my community. And I know that a lot of my community have USB microphones, not XLR microphones. And you can tell the difference because it's got these funky 3 dots on it. And if your mic doesn't have that, then you know you've got a USB. So this one is $175. Right? Now there's the Rode equivalent of that, which is the Rodecaster Duo, is $695. All right. Now what are you getting with that extra money? It's $500 extra. Come on, what's that about? But it's 500 times better. It's got 6 funky sounds. It's got DSP, depth, sparkle, and punch. It works with Rode mics. It's significantly better, but it's also significantly dearer, more expensive. So this is what this show's about. How do these products that we keep talking about, how do they differ, and can you tell? And can you get it past the wife when you buy one? Right? I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get. I'm going to have to wait like for my birthday to get one of these, but I'm pretty sure I can get one of these. $175. Now this only has 2 inputs and 2 features. This one probably has limitless features. It would take me probably 6 months to try everything. So these shows, they're deliberately designed to give you the options that you might need if you want to take your show up a notch, or if you want to go on other people's shows and sound the part. But I also want to talk about echo. This is, yeah, you go.
Okay.
You got
Just real quick. You had said DSP, and you gave DSP a different definition than I'm used to. I thought DSP was digital signal processing. Am I incorrect on that?
Well, that I haven't heard of that one, but to what Rode says, this is really amazing. And if you want to buy a Rode, just yell out. I'll send you the link. It's an Australian company. They're so good. Like, they're very good. They're very, very good, but they are possibly disproportionately expensive for the money, depending on your value proposition. So DSP, and you can see it if you look very, very closely, there's 3 little knobs there. DSP on a Rode device stands for depth, sparkle, and punch. Right? It has built-in tech that allows you to sound better at the push of a button. That's what you're paying them for. Like the Zoom P2, it's just on or off. There's no deliberation. You can't manipulate it. It's either on or it's off. Yes or no. Whereas with the Rode products, you can get, and I hope you can see this graphic, you can probably get any number of these really lovely sounds. Right? Now, I'm really challenged by the idea of putting a word in the English language to a sound, which is very subjective. But hopefully, my sound is clarity or presence or crispness, maybe sizzle, and maybe even sheen. And hopefully it's not muddy or rumbly or boomy. Right? These are words in the English language that explain sound. With all Rode products, and even their software, you can create these effects, but it's not free. And that's what you're paying them for. And Zakia has a pod mic USB, but they're $285. $285 for a mic. You know, that's pretty. You'd have to be pretty serious, right? And a lot of people in my tribe probably aren't that serious, but they sound so good. I want one.
What is it?
It's the Rode PodMic USB.
Oh, okay. It's this one right here.
Yeah.
But it's USB, which USB mics are these days are pretty comparable to dynamic XLR mics. I mean, it's not the same, but they're really good these days. They're not like in the earlier days.
What they're doing, even Shure The NV7 Plus has a USB.
Mhm.
What these this is very clever. What the professional companies are now doing is they're now offering their professional range of microphones with a USB option. How clever is that? And how clever is that? Like the NT1, which is arguably the gem, like they're $500, $400, depending on where you go, $400, but they're like the top of the tree. Most voiceover artists use this mic. Rode now has a USB version. Plugs into your phone. You get all of that power in a little gadget that plugs into your phone. They're $285, right? We can hear this because we've spent a couple of hours playing with this idea. This is perfect if you're traveling. This would be the ideal mic to travel with. Put it in your travel bag. You pull it out at the hotel. Plug it into your laptop, and you're going. I know a lot of my friends do this. They're on the go, always traveling on the road. This would be the ideal mic for that. And the NT or the pod mic is just a variation on that same theme. This is a condenser mic, warm, lovely sound, but a bit noisy. This one is a bit bassy, but cuts out all the background noise. Perfect if you're in a hotel and they're building something next door, which has happened to me many times. So we can. I'm going to continue to run this format and compare Rode to Shure to Zoom to Tascam to Samson, and I think it's just a fantastic format. What I'm going to do tomorrow, I've got a show on email marketing, and I might quickly wrap that up. But before I do that, I want to talk about Echo. Does anyone have any advice or examples of when they've been on a show and one of the guests was echoing, and how did you solve it? Before I pass on my infinite wisdom on the subject. Mike, have you been on a show where people have had echo, and what did you do?
I have, and usually it means that a lot of times I think people have difficulties in their setup, particularly on laptops. Like their headset, they're like if they have buds or something, they may not have them plugged in correctly or connected correctly. And I will say, Keith, since getting this software, I literally have between my I have a thing that does like a soundboard and this Steel series where I have all of these settings that it can get really confusing when I'm in a app like this. I literally have to go through and scroll down, like I don't know, like 8 or 9 different settings just to get what I'm, like to pick the correct microphone, because I can use the 2QU without any software. It's not going to sound the same as me using that Steel Series EQ with, in this case, I am using the broadcast high pitch template or setting. So I think, like I said, most of the issues have been around that they haven't had their headset, or they didn't have a headset, so then their mic is picking up their speakers, and then you're getting echo.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was going to say, but I wanted to throw some other ideas around. Bez, have you ever had any problems with people coming in either really loud or echoing or sound quality? What do you do if that happens?
Yeah, you just talk about it, walk it through. I mean, typically they have a second device or a tab on their computer that's open that's also pulling on the sound, and they may also not be using a headset that's and so they're, it's not what do they call it, where it
Feedback.
yeah, the feedback. Yeah, complicated term. Yeah, the feedback's bleeding out, or it's, that's why I use a lot of times when I'm doing a show, my phones actually go over my ears. So you're not going to hear a bleed into my microphone. Now, a lot of times they have that where they cancel out. What's that called, Keith? I know there's a term where
Is it called noise cancelling? Is it as simple as that?
I think is Cyrus here? Oh no, he left. It's a term. Anyways,
Standing wave.
so- no, it's Keith. I think you've said it before, where it has something to input output or something. Anyways,
Is it mixed?
mix minus. Yeah. So but yeah, you just typically it's really something simple, and that's just a second device. Like they could have a phone or whatnot, and a tab on their browser, a second one open. And I've done that by accident. So yeah. So someone's asking, what is mix minus? Keith, do you want to explain that? Because you're a sound guy. You can explain that probably a lot better.
So this is one of the reasons. I wasn't actually going to mention this, but this is very important if you got the tech. The Zoom P4 has a built-in mix minus feature, and what that does is it's the mix minus the guest feed. Because if say for instance Mike calls in and he calls in, then he gets a signal back. And in some configurations, there's a crossover which causes feedback. So by actually having his mix minused, taken out of the mix, it's a very clean feed. It's very clean. It doesn't happen very often, but it occasionally happens when you have guests calling in on landlines or mobiles. And that's something that the host can do. And it's a feature worth looking for on a device you have. Does it have what's called mix minus? It's the mix minus the guest. It never happens if you're just talking into it yourself. It's only when you have this secondary guest calling in on a landline. Hey, guess what? We just caught up with Bon Jovi. He's in Sweden at the moment and he's on the boat. So let's just cross to Bon Jovi on the boat. And he's calling in on a boat on a ski, on the way to an island. And we got him for 3 minutes. And the sort of tech is not complete. It's something we can do on our end. It's a very highly complicated thing, but it's something we can do. Only we can do it. The guests can't do it. But to your point, what we've done here is we've very clearly indicated the easiest way to reduce echo. The simplest way that works every time is wear headphones. That's it. That's what you do. Now, it's a very simple one. If you don't have a pair of headphones, wear a pair of earbuds. The wired earbuds. Now, wired earbuds are really good because they usually come with a mic. Because the reason why you're getting echo, and I'm saying this specifically because a few people have asked me to talk about this, you talk into the mic on the laptop, and it then sends that signal out again and it's picked up by the speakers on the laptop, and there's this massive echo, usually about 3 seconds. So if you just take one of those configurations out, one, use a mic, a proper mic, two, wear a pair of headphones. If you did both of those things, you'll never have echo. And if that doesn't work, which it will, but if it doesn't, buy a P4 and use the mix minus feature. But, why would you pay $200 to just minus the echo on someone else's show? The reason is because you're never going to get invited back if you have echo. I can tell you for sure. If you keep having echo, you're never coming on my show because it pisses me off. I've even sang a special song, Galileo, Galileo Figaro. I've even learnt this Queen song just to cope with my anger of having all this echo. Figaro. But yeah, having a pair of headphones works, and with a proper mic. And that's a very important one that I wanted to cover off on. And I am a bit fussy. I'm a bit of a sound snob, but it's my show. And, I'm in charge. So Otto's had some comments there from the Kingdom of Cambodia. Thanks, Keith, for having me on board. Gotta go mentoring a client, but much gratitude to everyone. And he's calling in from Cambodia. Pretty cool. I don't know what's happening with that little signal there, but someone has got a weird image coming out. I'll see if I can reset that. So we've been chatting about 2.5 hours. I'm very, very keen to have this show go viral. So please keep commenting while you're listening. And I might just run the room on some last minute thoughts. And I'll just give everyone, I don't know what that blue mark is. It's a bit of a technical glitch I'm trying to get rid of.
Keith, can I make a suggestion on the virality type of thing?
Please.
Okay, so you actually have your own group chat on LinkedIn. And you could, how many people are in there? I'm just don't know off the top of my head.
Maybe 10 maybe.
Okay, so 10, perfect. You could tell people, look, at a certain time, I'm going to drop a post, or you drop the post and put the link in the chat, and then have a conversation with everybody. Say, hey, one of the reasons I developed this chat is to promote the show. I'm looking for it to go viral. If I drop a link, I want you guys to engage with it. But because you're on the other side of the world and you're a day ahead, just try to find a reasonable time. And that, because for you, I guess you could schedule a post, right? But it's one of those things where if we're engaging in the post in the first 90 minutes, then that's considered the golden hour for LinkedIn, because they're only going to show your post to 2% max. So if you've got 20,000, what? How many is that? 200, 2%?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was pretty clever. That's 400. But
Yeah.
let's pick up on this idea about virality. LinkedIn will show the post, and I apologize. Something's happened with the screen. I don't know what's going on there, but it's gone a bit funny on me. Something's happened here. I'll just see if I can add something. But you're mentioning something about going viral on LinkedIn in the first hour. LinkedIn will show the post to maybe 20 people, and then it's up to you to make sure that a lot of people take it up a notch, right? And if they don't, then the post sort of goes dead, doesn't it? It sort of dies a natural death. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because if they show it to 2% of your network and it doesn't do well, then you're not in. See, there's two things that the experts have said, that this year in 2025, the LinkedIn algorithm tends to be trending in two things that are important to it. One is relevancy, and the second one is frequency. So I think you've got frequency working in your favor. You go live 3 times. So that's frequent, right? You've trained LinkedIn to say, hey, I go live on these days. So and then now all we have to do is take whatever you're doing every week, and just when it's time to post or drop the link, you tell us, hey, let's get in there and engage. And then what the other thing you can do, since it's only 10 people, is tell the others, if you have a post, I'll also engage. So it's a little give and take, right? And you can say the purpose of this chat is if you're going to be in this chat, that you engage in the links we're dropping as best you can, and that you drop yours and we engage in yours. So that means that it's a give and take. If it doesn't, see, with 10 people, here's what happens, Keith. So 10 people comment, and then you just don't let the comments die. Keith goes back in there and he replies to the comment. Yeah. So, but not like, oh, great, thank you. No, it's like LinkedIn wants you to. They want meaningful conversations. So give it a 1-2 sentence response. And that's why I tell people too, if you're going to, I've done these challenges and I say, look, I'm going to put you in here, but the rules are if we're gonna rally around each post and we're gonna give it some love. But if you're here, if we give you love, you got to give us love. It works that way.
So
So
let's pick up on this, Bez. I'm not a good writer. I don't like writing, and I don't ever make comments more than one sentence. How do you do that?
well, I mean, if it's one sentence, I'm good with that. Just as long as it's not like, "Hey, great," it's like, or what do you guys say? Good on you. Say something that is in response to the comment they left you. So, like, you don't have to get wordy. A one sentence meaningful response is worth more than a 2 sentence fluff, nothing there response, right? Because it's relevant, it's meaningful, right? And then LinkedIn's also looking at, like, if you got this little engagement pod and you got 10 people, hey, we're going to post, and they're going to see there's interaction going on, right? And so they'll say, all right, what's going on? Oh, they all jumped in on this. Okay. Now they want people, what LinkedIn really works hard is that if you put something out there, whether video, audio, or written, that the person that needs to see that piece of content is the right person. Because remember, we have an ecosystem of LinkedIn Recruiter, and people want to see, LinkedIn wants to drive people to the right person. So they're like, oh, I saw Keith's post. Oh man, I wish I would have known of Keith sooner. He's my person, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So
Yeah.
you've got to get your. This is actually really clever. Let's pick up on this. Personally, this is a bit like talking to the rooster. I find it really difficult to come up with something witty for more than 2 words. Love that. Great video. Thank you. You're onto it. Bingo. That's the way I talk. I mean, that's how I talk. But
unfortunately, LinkedIn algorithm is not going to reward you for that, Keith. And so what Bez is saying about relevancy. So it's actually more than meaningful. And what I mean by that is you could have a meaningful post that's not relevant. They being the algorithm is actually looking for something, like if we're talking about sound, right? They want to see, okay, you were talking about mics, you said something about mics, you had a meaningful, that you took away some good information about the the Q2U and the P4 and XLR. Yeah, make it relevant is really important for the algorithm. And then what Bez is saying, they also refer to it as a boost pod. And they don't necessarily like them, but you can have what I'm calling an organic boost pod, which is basically asking your followers, your audience, to just engage, to say, hey, trying to get some groundswell here to get to boost the signal a little bit on this cast. Can you help me by being engaged? And to your point, we could you can formalize this a little bit and say, hey, you kind of scratch my back and you boost my cast, and I'll boost yours, or I'll boost your posts or your newsletter. And it does work. And
it works only for the first hour or two, doesn't it? You've got an hour. Basically, you've got the golden hour, haven't you?
Yeah, the first 90 minutes. Now, Mike said something really important. So he said pod boost, or we also call them engagement pods. That's actually against LinkedIn's terms of service, but they know it's definitely an engagement pod if because the big creators have them, right? They call it community, but they say, hey, if I drop a comment, rally around it, all right. But what ends up happening is all their community does is go, great, hey, awesome. Then LinkedIn knows, oh, that's an engagement pod. We're not going to reward it. But let's say you have an engagement pod and people do put a meaningful comment. Let's say one sentence. And it's, but it can't be great. Because Keith, you might have that's maybe how you talk, but there's how sort of people try to game the algorithm on LinkedIn and on all platforms, right? And the algorithm for most of these platforms, they pick up on inauthentic comments, which is really two word responses, right? So you want to get now. See, so we're talking like your show is about audio. So, and Mike's talking about relevancy. Imagine if you all of a sudden took a left turn and started talking about underwater basket weaving. You would really confuse the algorithm because, And so they're like, okay, they're struggling to figure out, okay, I thought I'm trying to match up Keith's content with, video, audio creators. All of a sudden now, do I need to get it over to people who do underwater basket weaving? And so that's when you start to confuse the algorithm because you switch gears on them. So the relevancy, everything that we share or we rally around should be around the subject that you're known for, Keith, right? Because then that's going to be relevant. Everyone's going to have meaningful conversation, and they're going to say,
Can you use Chat GPT for that? I mean, I'm not a writer. I don't like writing.
I don't, because I can write 1-2 sentence, like no problem. Like, I mean, that's me, but I understand there's a lot of people don't like to write. But what you could do, you said Chat GPT. In today's day and age, Chat GPT will take you speaking into it and transcribe it. And I don't think, hey, I mean, I believe on mobile, I wonder, can you leave video or audio responses on a post on mobile? I'm just trying, I'm thinking out loud because you can do video and audio post on, you can leave messages, audio and video.
DM, yeah, but you can't comment via audio.
See, so I'm trying to.
You want to pick up on this, America? We have. I'm not trying to game the system. I know that commenting is a thing, but I don't like to comment. I know that roast pumpkin is good for me, but I don't like roast pumpkin. So I'm not going to eat more roast pumpkin because it's good for me. I'm not going to do 2-sentence posts because it's good for me. I don't like doing it. So, but why don't we try? That's how I speak. Awesome, great, let's do it. Talk to you later. See you tomorrow. That's how I talk. So it's authentic for me to say that. So when you talk about authenticity, I am being myself. It would be very inauthentic for me to say, you know what, I had to listen to the whole show and you were very thoughtful there at the 37th minute when you actually mentioned that the DSP is a very good way to get a better sound on a Rode mic, which is an Australian product. I don't talk like that.
No, but Keith, I'm going to push back because as I was listening and how you don't talk, you actually, how you talk is more than 1-2 words. Okay. You don't talk 1 or 2 words. You actually give meaningful commentary. Now imagine if we could take that, and maybe you do talk to Chat GPT or Pi, right? And out comes a transcription, 1 sentence transcribed thing, and you cut and paste, bam, there you go.
I love
minor editing. See, because here's the thing. You may imagine this. You may not like how the medicine tastes, but you're gonna take it because it's good for you, right? Same with this 1 and 2 cents, because you're not. That's not good medicine, right? And you're gonna want. I mean, help LinkedIn help you, right? And so, that's a little bit about what you're doing. Or maybe sometimes people don't even comment. That's called, post and ghost. So you may leave two words, but you might as well ghost and post. You might as well save yourself, right? So that's just my 2 cents. I think.
No, this is good. As you said, help LinkedIn help you. When you've got a cold, that the medicine might be awful, but you want to get better, don't you? You want to be well. So this was good. I still don't like roast pumpkin. Don't ask me.
America, what do you think about this? Are we going down the right path?
No,
Because
this is
you
good.
you
No,
do a
this
lot
is
of shows too. So what are your thoughts? I mean, how could Keith still, if he doesn't like to ride, what are some ways maybe he can still get a win?
I heard, and I don't know how much truth there is behind it in terms of favorability from the algorithm. But if you have short sentences or short written engagement, but you attach a GIF to it, I was told that might help. Now, this is
Ooh.
a GIF in the comments.
a GIF in the comments.
Oh, I'm going to test that.
That's very authentic for me. Apple or iPhone, you've seen that little thing where it's switching between duck season
Yeah.
and tariffs on, tariffs off, tariffs on, tariffs off. So that would be very cool for me. Yeah.
I will tell you, recently I did the Forbidden Thing, and I added an action figure, which is a trend.
You did your doll. You did your own doll.
I did my doll, and that got I forget how many impressions, but it's pretty. I'm noticing, and I did this on purpose on another picture post. Picture posts do get more impressions. They just do. I don't know why, but I would say maybe do both. Do a sort of a medium length comment, and then throw a picture in there, and I think you're gonna get more response from the algorithm.
I might have to ring my English teacher and say, "How do I write comments again?" Like, I mean, I just don't want
No. Hey, use the tools around you. You don't like to write? Then have speak something into existence, because you speak eloquently. So that is you. Like you're telling me, well, I talk this way. Great. Cheerio. No, that's not you, man.
The other thing, what kind of PC do you use, Keith? Do you use a Mac or a
I've
Mac
got
or
a
a PC?
PC on Windows 10.
Okay, if you use Windows key, crap, I think it's M. It actually turns text to speech on.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes.
And you can actually, then you just put, you have to make sure it's in the text window in LinkedIn that you're responding to, and obviously give it a try in another app like text note or something. But you can use that and do speech to text that way.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, look, I mean, if LinkedIn, and this is a very good discussion because it's not natural for me, it's not authentic for me, so I'm absolutely making this up. So if the goal is to be authentic, then I'm not being authentic. But it's not about me. It's about what LinkedIn wants and about how to get the information out to more people. That's what I want. Take your medicine.
Take your medicine.
So, beyond that, Keith, I think I'm gonna side with Bez on this, because the way you talk when you're talking about the gear is still authentic. So your response, I think you're kind of getting stuck in your thinking too hard or something, because when you're responding to someone about, like, if they had a question, let's say their comment is a question to you specifically, or to anyone in the in the chain, is like, well, what is XLR really make that much difference? And no one's commenting, so you can pipe in and say, well, of course, and I can speak to that, and it could even be ending up being a little more than one or two sentences. Maybe it's a whole paragraph.
Is there a maximum? Now that you got me talking, now you got me thinking. What's the maximum number of characters for a comment? Has anyone maxed
That's
it
a
out?
good question. I think
1,200.
I've done long ones. Now there's somebody in the chat that said, her name is Malka. She says audio as a response is an option on mobile.
but as a response in the comments, not a DM. I think is the question.
We were talking about the comments. I'm gonna find something. I'm on my
1,000
mobile.
characters. 1,000 characters. Like, what is that? 200 words? I'm going to challenge myself, Mike. I know you write long posts. 1,000 characters is probably about 200 words. I'm not even in high school did I write articles that big. So,
But Keith, imagine well, I'll ask you a question. Don't answer it now, but let's say, I wanted to know, in all seriousness, what is the differential improvement between USB for same, so same mic, like my Q2U. What is the difference? And you can say it's, I don't know, 1.5 times better or whatever you would say, but that could be your response. You know what I mean? And it's hopefully anyway your response. And I think it would be longer than just 2 words. You would say something like, well, in my experience, blah, 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 and, consider doing X, Y, Z. And it can be 2 sentences, 3 sentences, and it's relevant. I'm going to keep on banging away at this relevance thing because it's really important, and they want to see that engagement. It goes back to engagement. They want to post their audio too.
I think what you're saying there is really good. When I talk and I respond to pleasantries, thanks for doing the show. No worries. Well, what else is there to say? I mean, what else is there to say? Thank you for doing the show. No worries. You're welcome anytime. There's nothing else to say. But if someone said, mate, I heard you talking about Rode and I heard you talking about Shure, and I think they're both good, but what is the difference between an NT1 and a Shure MB7B? Man, now you got my attention. I've only got 200 words. I could do that. So maybe for me, the challenge for me would be to write my comments as answers to questions, because if someone said, "Oh, I love the show," all I can really do is thank them for loving the show and commenting on it. There's nothing more to say.
Well, no, I'm going to interrupt you, Keith. Sorry. I'm going to say, well, what did you enjoy about the show? Was it XYZ? Was it that we talked about echo, or was it we went over all of these different mics or the settings on the mics? What is it where Mike was able to improve his sound significantly by switching to the other preset? What and I get what you're saying, but I think if we start thinking about ways to engage, right? And that's I keep on circling back to sort of community engagement and relevance. If you can, yes, of course you'd say thank you, but I think you can maybe just think about rephrasing it and say, well, thank you, but what did you really find useful? What did you enjoy about the show? And again, I think that's a way of engaging your audience. And then it's not just the growing the audience either. It's when you have engagement, then it gets back to building that community. So you have sort of hang time, if you will, or your community will hang with you because you are engaging with them.
Yeah, YouTube calls this dwell time.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think what I've got to do and what the community can do for each other is spend a little bit of time immediately after the show in that golden hour to say, hey, that was a good show. What was the essence? And I've got to be honest, I haven't been doing that. But I need to think differently about, we covered a lot of ground and I could easily speak about that. But I've been reluctant for some reason. I got to sort of sit on that. But America, we're covering a lot of ground here. This is good research for our project, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. This golden hour that we all speak of, also, I take it with a grain of salt. I I think we're onto something through engagement, and the algorithm will push out to more than the 2% if we keep the audience engaged throughout the show. Responding to comments after the show, I think, falls within that wheelhouse. But also understand that coupled with that, a good DM strategy and a good invitation strategy. So you started this at 10 a.m. local time in Melbourne. Now, if you're inviting people who are across the globe and are asleep, then there's a good chance your viewership is going to tank. Unless your strategy is, you know what, I'm going to get who I know is loyal to me. They'll show up live because I have a live following, but I'm going to reach out to this sleeping population so that when they wake up in the morning, they have a notification and a DM, and maybe they'll pop in and jump on and re-listen. So there's a couple of things here we can test.
Oh, it's very cool. It's very, very cool.
Well, the other thing I want to mention, Keith, remember when we did that one where we had there was like 4 or 5 people with different mics, and I wrote an article so I didn't really comment in the comments, but I wrote an actual article on the show, and then you repurposed that using Notebook NL and made it part of your podcast listing. So we got that's at least 3 different pieces of or assets out of the same show, and that doesn't count the comments. So I think this is, you kind of have to keep all of this going in your mind of what are creative ways to build engagement. And it doesn't necessarily have to be out of the broadcast. Yes, obviously you love to broadcast, but I think you need that dwell time. And so the broadcast is only part of your brand, and the engagement is going to build the audience.
I love it. I just love it. I just love what we're doing here, because we are testing the waters for everyone else. Like I love this. I've always loved this component. I love the idea that we are here. We don't know everything, but we're testing the waters. We're pushing the buttons, and people are learning from us, and I'm very proud of that. And so I've done this particular show, knowing full well that several people have said, look, I'm very interested in this topic, but I can't come live. And so I've switched my brain to think, well, maybe we do need to honor the replay. And this is a very good example of what I'm talking about. What Mike just said there is, I have now created 20 smaller snippets of the show using Google Notebook. And each of those snippets go 5 minutes, which are a very generic wrap-up of what we've talked about. And there's 20 of them now. So that is what is social audio, and that's on my SoundCloud account. So in as much as we've talked about USG, user-generated content, I think I owe it to myself to go a bit harder on the comments. I can do that. I don't have to rely on other people to do that. And maybe I've been a bit lazy there. And I think I need to maybe think about a better commenting strategy, given that I don't like to write naturally, but I'm sure I can do it. I mean, the words come out of my mouth. They just don't come out of my fingers. I don't know what goes on there. There's something going on there with my psychology, but the words don't come out of my fingers. So maybe I'll just text to type or type to text,
Well, check this out. If you put these on YouTube or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you post a video on YouTube, they transcribe it for you.
If I can get the transcript, I think I'd be right, because I could just take a little snippet and go, geez, I said that really well. I might just copy and paste that and put it in a comment.
Exactly. YouTube will transcribe your video for you. I think they do that. So why not get it in there and take it, like you said, take that snippet, because you say some really insightful things, Keith. Now, I've been looking at this Malka, who says about audio and posting. She said post our audio too. You get more response with audio in a post. Add text. I don't know what she means by that, but I tried to do that. I thought, I was getting excited that I could post an audio post. I can only see that we can do that in the messages on a mobile, but on my mobile, I didn't see a way for me to post an audio. Now, I did see a feature about a media one, but it wasn't straightforward. So I'm gonna play around with it. So it'd be cool, but let's see what happens.
Yeah. Well, look, we've been going 3 hours. This is a very, very good show. I'm going to now start to work out some magic after the show to keep it moving. That show you mentioned, Mike, has had about 15,000 replays. And I think that's because you did that article and we did, and I did something on LinkedIn as well, and something on Google Notebook. I can't get the screen up. Something's gone wrong. But oops, I'm just mucking around with this, the settings now. So I'm going to go and grab some lunch. This has been the Social Audio Sound Check. Let's see if we can get this one moving. We are indeed sending this to LinkedIn and also YouTube. If you do have any questions, please go and find my other shows that are coming soon. And I really love you to go and listen to that audio series. So I'm going to just play a little sound and then go and get some lunch. Thank you to all the fantastic guests today. And I really do appreciate your help.